I'm here, Madam Chair. Nothing to report, Madam Chair.
Good morning, Supervisor, Madam Chair, and members. Hope everybody had a good Christmas and New Year, and thanks for the opportunity to present to you guys. I know that Supervisor Lingenfelter covered it a bit. We did have a meeting on December 18th with Senator Kerr regarding our groundwater legislation, or actually, in fact, her groundwater legislation. It was very, there was not a lot of detail provided in that meeting. We asked for bullet points of what they anticipated doing. We were actually hoping to potentially see language to identify areas where there might be agreement and where there may be areas of opportunity to sort of negotiate a more comprehensive package. We did not get that at the time, but in that there would be some challenges based on the historical position of the county on some of these approaches. Since that time, I did receive a document through other channels identifying what it looks like they are proposing. And I will just present to you what I believe to be some challenges of that. And then obviously if I get different guidance from the county, then we can proceed in that manner. But it appears, based on her proposal, that any creation of groundwater protections, and this is different than the what we had discussed before, which is the makeup of the council who will determine the plan for the area. Any creation of groundwater protections is required to go to a public vote. That means that first and foremost that the county would be funding that special election. Second, that would mean that the decision on whether or not municipal and other groundwater resources are protected is subject to the will of the electorate as opposed to the health of the basin. And so that may be, in fact, a challenge there. In addition, and I know we've talked about this before, the creation of the council, the members on the council will go to an election. Then when you create a new board or council, that board council then needs to have the represent as well as their own insurance. And there's no funding in any of this to create that new legal representation or insurance, I'm sorry. They also would place 2 nominees on the council that are not voted in. That is also a challenge. There's something in municipal work called community facilities districts, and there's been some challenges with those community facilities districts in the past getting insurance because of people being nominated to a council. So not having it housed under DWR, like what has been historically the approach in the Mojave County proposal, now you create this whole entire new legal entity, which has historically, in our view, posed a challenge. The other idea here is that they're creating certain types of water rights. And I think the big concern from the county, as we've discussed previously, is creating water rights in such a way that creates a priority system. And with that system on the Colorado River, where we are now last in line, and there would be concerns that that could theoretically happen in this new approach. We'll continue to meet with Senator Kerr and the representatives to go forward. As Supervisor Lingenfelter also mentioned, I have had conversations with Representative Biasucci and Senator Borelli. They do intend on sponsoring water legislation this year. I do think that they will want to see some differences between maybe what the governor's office anticipates doing and what they want to do. And I have talked about that with those representatives. So we'll see how that comes out. We're not quite there yet. I think that the governor's office and the Department of Water Resources are working on the language at Legislative Council now. And then once we see that, we'll see what the changes are that Leo and Sonny would like to make to be more reflective of their positions. And that's about all I have at this time. I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
documentations required, any excuse me, potential wrinkles or delays to be resolved prior to December 31st. So projects and their funding and all the supporting documentation will be on track by December 31st of this year. With that said, I'm going to stop, turn it over to Luke to just provide you some additional info very briefly. So Luke, take it away, please.
Good morning, board members, and Happy New Year. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. And so you should see the slides up on the screen. I'm going to move through these fairly quickly. I know we have a full agenda today. Going to briefly summarize the 2023 interim final rule, as well as some recent guidance we received at the end of November regarding the obligation interim final rule. So the interim final rule went into effect September 30th of 2023. And basically what the IFR did, it created 3 new eligible use categories for ARPA funds. The key to remember with most of these is it's to supplement, not to supplant. So if a recipient had already programmed funding, non-ARPA funding, the intent here is to supplement that and not replace it. And so the 3 eligible use categories were emergency relief from natural disasters, surface transportation projects, and Title I housing projects. The timeline, as Sam indicated, remains mostly unchanged. The funds have to be obligated by the end of the current calendar year, and they must be expended by the end of calendar 2026. There is one small exception there, and that is for the Title I housing and the surface transportation projects. Those funds must be expended 3 months earlier by September 30th, 2026. So the guidance that we received at the end of November gives some clarification for what it means for funds to be obligated. And so that definition of obligation continues to mean orders that are placed for property services, contracts, subawards, things of that nature. The obligation deadline, as I stated, is still December 31st of 2024. But one important clarification that we received was that the U.S. Treasury clarified that project approval by a legislative body such as the board is not sufficient to obligate funds. We must have a funding agreement or contract in place. So that's going to be pretty key, and that's why we are going to request that any projects that have yet to be approved by the end of March, so that there is time to get those funding agreements in place by the end of the calendar year. One thing that the Treasury expanded that definition is that if there's obligations that are incurred by the end of this calendar year, that are basically requirements that have been placed upon the recipients, upon the county because of ARPA, that we don't have to have a specific contract in place for those. And so some of those costs that are going to be very relevant for Mojave County would be the ARPA administrative costs. So the costs that the different departments are incurring, the time and staff hours that are spent monitoring these projects, administering these projects. There's a fairly lengthy list of other costs that can be included, but for the most part, it's going to be the admin costs for Mojave County. And so if we want to use ARPA funds to cover those costs, we can do so through the expenditure deadline of December 31st, 2026. But if we want to do that, we have to provide an estimate to the U.S. Treasury of what we expect to incur for these admin costs, and we have to provide that to the Treasury when we do our quarterly expenditure report at the end of April. And Finance will be developing an estimate for that and providing that to the Treasury. We have a couple of problem scenarios that I just want to briefly review. The first one would be the mobile health unit project. The clarification we received from the U.S. Treasury is that when it comes to personnel that were hired specifically for an ARPA project, we have to follow the same policies and procedures that the county uses for other personnel costs. And so Mojave County, we do not obligate personnel costs before work is performed. So staff incurs hours in the day-to-day course of performing their duties. As they perform the work, then they are entitled to pay, but not before. And we have to follow that same practice for any ARPA personnel costs. What that means is that for the mobile health unit project, the personnel costs are only eligible through the end of this calendar year. We cannot charge personnel costs incurred after December 31st, 2024 to that ARPA project. The second scenario would be future projects. We've seen in the past it has taken upwards of 8, 9, 10 months sometimes to get funding agreements in place, fully executed, largely waiting on the subrecipients to return the required documentation. And so this is why we are going to request that, any remaining unprogrammed funds, that those projects are approved by the board by the end of March. This gives us 9 months in order to get all of that paperwork in place, get the funding agreement fully executed so that we have all the boxes checked and the U.S. Treasury can't come back and disagree whether or not the funds were appropriately obligated. Very quickly, we have 3 projects right now that are returning funds, basically, that will need to be reallocated. The first of those is the MCC Small Business Development Center District 1 project, roughly $5,000 being returned that was unspent. Then 2 District 4 projects, the mobile health unit, which I've mentioned before, we estimate about $500,000 will need to be reallocated, and that was originally intended to cover personnel costs in 2025 and 2026. And then the Lake Mead Community Co-op project, the co-op notified the county last month that they were going to return about $440,000 due to a change in the scope of the project. And then there are a lot of additional resources available on the Treasury's ARPA webpage. I'll send these slides out to all of the board members, and you can peruse those additional resources at your convenience. And with that said, that's it for the update. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions from the board? From Mr. Mournian?
Madam Chairman, if there are no questions, then that concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Elters, is it time for the call to public now? Okay. All right, pursuant to ARS 38-431, a public body may make an open call to the public during a public meeting subject to reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions to allow individuals to address the public body on any issue with the jurisdiction of the public body. At the conclusion of an open call to the public, individual members of the public body may respond to criticism made by those who have addressed the public body, may ask staff to review a matter, or may ask that a matter be put on a future agenda. However, members of the public body shall not discuss or take legal action on matters raised during an open call to the public unless the matters are properly noticed for discussion and legal action. That means that we cannot respond to your questions or anything of it. We have a lot of call to publics today. You do get 3 minutes. You don't have to use all of it, just a little reminder. And if somebody makes a point that you were going to make, you can always stand up and say that you agree with the speaker before. Okay, so we're going to start with Greg Beffert, and after Greg, Jennifer Esposito's on board.
Good morning, Supervisors. I've been here several times, so I won't reintroduce myself. My name's Greg Beffert, Mojave County taxpayer. If you go to DesertSagePodcast.com, it's all lowercase. I teach natural law in addition to coming here and doing these presentations. The most recent one is a compilation that was put together by a Mojave County patriot depicting the actions of Supervisor Bishop during COVID, Supervisor Johnson during COVID. Excellent compilation. So I'd recommend you go to desertsagepodcast.com. My website's free. I do this as a service. I'm a retired police officer and a veteran, and I took an oath. And so I'm still earning my retirement, even though I am retired. And this is, my job is to help educate the public about natural law, but also about the machinations of how government works. So if you go there, you'll find information that will explain to you and outline the Delphi technique, all of the machinations that government uses to indoctrinate people, to manipulate you, your minds, and that's what happened during COVID-19. This was a virus of the mind, as much as it was any physical virus. And so if you go there, again, my content is free. It'll cost you nothing. Go there and it'll explain these methods of manipulation, how your mind was manipulated, and everything from indoctrination to problem reaction solution. The Hegelian dialectic. The government creates a problem, waits for the reaction, and then has a pre-planned solution in place. You release, intentionally or otherwise, a gain-of-function virus, wait for the reaction, and have a solution, the vaccine, already in place. So there are ways that you're being manipulated, and I outline all of those here. So go look at that compilation that outlines the behavior of Supervisor Bishop. I also talk about what happens to people psychologically who've been given power. You know, Supervisor Angus talked about the lack of power that this board had. Well, during COVID, we ceded our power. And so a lot of the things that I say up here might offend some people. And I'll tell you the same thing that I told Lake Havasu City Council in 2020. Feel free to get as offended and as indignant as you want. I'm here to speak the truth. And that's what's happened. The truth's been destroyed. We live in a sea of lies, and the truth is belligerent. It's not some flowery thing that you think is pretty and comfortable. It's belligerent. And so I'm speaking the truth. I'll be back. Thank you.
Jennifer Esposito and Jeff Doran, come on down. You're next up.
Thank you. Jennifer Esposito, candidate for District 4 County Supervisor. Happy New Year. Did you miss me? We have a new year, a new chairman, a fresh start. I hope that this is a productive year. I hope that you all made a New Year's resolution to honor your oath to uphold the U.S. Constitution, the Arizona Constitution. Given that you are all Republicans, I hope you made a New Year's resolution to follow the Republican Party platform of smaller government and lower taxes and all of that wonderful stuff. You're going to be faced with a lot of tough decisions this year. I expect that 2024 will be a very chaotic and interesting year in our country. And I am wishing you all the best of luck in doing the right thing for the right reasons for the people of this district. And that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Esposito. Jeff Doran. After Jeff, Jamie Fornengo.
Good morning. I'm here to try to extinguish the easement on my property. It's roughly 1,500 feet, basically a third of my property that I cannot use.
Excuse me, is this on the agenda? Is this an agenda? It's on consent. Oh, it's on the consent. What item on consent? Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. It's, do you know what item number it is on the agenda?
43.
43.
Okay, like I said, I'm the utilities, the UNS is denied as far as taking the easement away. Like I said, it's a third of my property that I cannot use. I was wanting to put more money. I just moved here last year and bought a house, been spending money in the community. I want to put a carport on my house. where this easement is, and that's already been estimated at another $10,000 that I'd be putting into the community. Excuse me. And I would just like to be able to use the property that I've already paid for and not have any problems with it after that. So I just would like you to, give me a chance to and further make the community a little bit better. Thank you.
Okay, Jamie Forningo, and then after Jamie, Scotty McClure. You don't have to go anywhere. You're right in front.
Good morning. I'm here to discuss that development in Golden Valley of the 3,000 homes. Is that on the agenda, correct?
Well, no.
It's not.
I think it is.
Well, it's something about it, but not the development itself. What do you say, Mr. Esplin?
Yeah, he can discuss any item he wants
Yeah.
to talk about. So
Okay.
you can go ahead.
You can
It's okay.
discuss it. It's not specifically for that on the agenda, but go ahead.
Okay. I came here 15 years from Wyoming because of health reasons. And I came here because I've always lived, well, Wyoming's the smallest, less dense population in the nation. And I came here because I've always lived in a rural area. And that would completely change Golden Valley, completely. And I don't think, and I'm too old to move now, to redo anything. And I just can't fathom 3,000 homes. In Wyoming, most towns don't have 3,000 homes. And it would change the area. I don't think we have the infrastructure. We don't have the water. In Wyoming, where I come from, I'm at the head of the Green River. It's the biggest tributary to the Colorado. In the last 20 years, we have not got snowpack. Last year we did. But it is a pattern. The water is not there. Wyoming does not get the water that they used to get. So I would hope that we could stop that development. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Scotty McClure and then Steve Robinson, if you'll be ready to come on down.
Scotty from Bullhead, District 2, running for District 2 Supervisor. I see procurement's been real busy again already, and I'm going to ask you to pull 50, 61, and 62. I took a civics class in high school, and I thought I knew what the hell tyranny was. Until recently, Colorado and Maine have changed the definition of tyranny. I wonder when her book is coming out. The gal from Maine, when's her book coming out? Wouldn't this be insurrection also? I don't know. I guess my civics class don't count anymore. To heck with it. I go back to the Nixon debates in Kennedy, 1960. I was sitting on the couch, 12 years old, with my parents watching that. We just got one of them black and white things called a TV. The first time I voted, we weren't old enough when we were in the service to vote. I don't know, I was 25, 26, 27. Proposition 13 in California was on the ballot. I voted for that big time. And the death penalty was on there, I believe. Charles Manson and his cronies had just gotten off of death row, so we put that back in. Now we have a governor that's decided that nobody on death row should get whatever, penalties. Man, running for politics just is something else. I mean, look at Jennifer here. She's had to be nice. I've had to quit swearing. I'm trying. I mean, old fiddlesticks is not going to cut it. I got in trouble for that in first grade, so whatever. Pastor Roy, there's probably a sermon in this. Running for politics. There got to be one there, Pastor Roy. I'm still working on getting a civil grand jury forming. I'm going to the Kingman City meeting tonight, the council meeting, if it's on, I guess, probably is. I'll be coming to you guys pretty soon about that. And finally got this computer nomination thing where you can sign up by computer to nominate whoever's running, except in Bullhead, which the city council doesn't have it going yet. They don't want it because they've got their perfect little city council meeting. They don't want you to run for city council. Afraid you screw it up. So, Alan, it does work because somebody tried to put their name on my nomination papers and they lived in Fort Mojave and it said you can't. So the thing works just fine.
Okay, then. Steve Robinson, and then James Jones. Next up, if you would come down.
I'm Steve Robinson, Golden Valley. First off, I'm speaking to item 49. I want to thank Supervisor Bishop for allocating that $1.7 million to help build a well. I really appreciate it. I know the citizens of Golden Valley Improvement District will too. Secondly, I want to go over the history of Golden Valley. This item I have here on the agenda, I just found recently. It was an advertisement for 2.5 acre parcels from Golden Valley Land Company in Los Angeles County, California. About 50 square miles of Golden Valley was cut up into 2.5 acre parcels sold for $695, $10 down, $10 a month. That was the first major proposal for development in a valley that was basically absent of anybody living. That was a significant thing. Shortly after that, or back in 1975, the Golden Valley Fire District was approved by a vote of the people. 2 months later, the County Board of Supervisors approved creating Golden Valley Improvement District to match the borders of the 260 square miles of the fire district. And that was a good idea, except Valley Pioneer said, we have 24 square miles here east of Teddy Roosevelt. So they voted to disband it, but that didn't happen in 1979. So in September of 79, the Board of Supervisors voted to reduce the size down to its current 40 square miles. Sadly, a whole bunch of the area down towards Griffith had been part of it, where all the water really is. And so we lost the access to that water. The county applied they created their improvement district policies and procedures. Then in 95, they received a designation of adequate water from the state. Now the state says right there that they have enough for their projected demands plus 950 acre feet more. Unfortunately, because they were so unclear, the people only thought they had until just recently, the county thought they only had 1,400 acre feet of water. Thankfully, we now know that there's over the 2,350 acre feet of water. But because of that, the development that our Angle Homes is now trying to buy most of was denied in December of 2006, and they ended up going bankrupt because the state did not communicate clearly how much water Golden Valley really had. Thank you. Oh, I'll go to the next point when I get on next.
Thank you. James Jones, and then Art Ramos on board. If you'd come on down, you ready to go?
Welcome to 24. I wanted to speak on several different items, and I'm not aware of the procedure items here, so am I allowed to speak on more than one item?
These are all on the consent agenda.
Yes.
You can speak to them now.
Okay.
Public.
First of all, Agenda 14, I'd like to say that it should be approved, but there's some couple things I'd like to say about them. Agenda 22 and 27 are expenditures, and I don't know the procedures, and y'all know them a lot better than I do, but I think that this fund could pay for those vehicles. may or may not be something to take into consideration. In Agenda 15, 16, 17, I'll make it real quick because I only got 3 minutes. People want to go and get indoctrinated from private organizations. I say no. I say they should stay home and take care of the county as they are aware of. And so it's Agenda 21, not 21, Agenda 22 and 27 go along with 14, and 15, 16, and 17 are all, they want to go someplace. So I think I covered them all. I didn't want to make too much of a speech because I only have 3 minutes. But in Agenda 16, children get 29 poisonous vaccines from birth. At birth, they get a vaccine. They're not even ready for a vaccine, and up to 6 years old, they get 29 vaccines. And to me, that's poisoning the children, and we have a lot of problems with our children here in Mojave County. I see a lot of young people on drugs. That's all I have to say.
Thank you so much. Art Ramos, and then Wayne Hollins on board.
Good morning. My name is Art Ramos. I live in Golden Valley in the GVID. And I heard about this outfit trying to put in 3,000 new homes, and I just think that that's too many people for a confined area like that. I mean, we all, not only myself, but everyone else that lives in the Golden Valley there, moved there for a reason, and that is to be 3,000 neighborhood people free, to not have that. So they want to create their own little world, I guess, to take themselves out of the GVID to create their own water system. Well, I believe they'll still be using our same aquifer, and if I'm not mistaken, there was only a little over 400 additional allotments on the books right now for 400 services to go towards other people. Well, this outfit wants to put in 3,000 services. All that water's coming from the same place.
Sir, this is on the agenda later if you wish to speak to it. Then.
Oh, I'm out of line then?
Excuse me?
Am I out of line?
Well, just on this water annexing out, yeah.
Okay.
But the other stuff about the community itself is.
Well, I have, a personal, I mean, they want to build right across the street from my house. And so I don't like that. That's not why I bought that place. But, I mean, rezoning from agricultural 36, I believe, down to single lot sizes, that's a big step, right? So maybe we should pump the brakes a little bit, and I don't know. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wayne Hollins, and then Charles DeShazer, and then Kenny Works.
Good morning, Chairman and Supervisors. Just want to give an update on the Golden Valley Cactus Cleaners cleanup for last year. Our total for the year was 111,000 pounds of trash, plus another 18,000 some pounds of tires. So it gave us about 130,000 pounds of illegally dumped trash that we was able to clean up from Golden Valley, Kingman area. In addition to that, the Dolan Springs Cactus Cleaners cleaned up another 60,000 pounds on the public lands in their area. Excuse me, get this thing working right. So, since we started cleaning up the desert in April of 15, we've cleaned up almost 840,000 pounds of trash. That includes 44 boats, 4 hot tubs, plus over 20,000 tires for another 538,000 pounds of trash. So that's 1.37 million pounds of trash and tires that we've removed from our desert community out there. And I'd like to show my appreciation to Supervisor Bishop and our erase team for all the support that they give us and continued support. So thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for the work you do. After Charles, Kenny Works.
Hi, my name is Chuck DeShazer. I'm from Topok area. I'd just like to start off with a quote by Thomas Jefferson 200 years ago. He said, "Any government big enough to provide everything you need is big enough to take anything that you have." I think we're getting to a point, this is 200 years ago he said that, he'd be flabbergasted by what we're seeing here today. We have 3 major cities in this county, and people live in those cities because they want the nice streets and rules and regulations. We have a development services department that seems to want to put that city philosophy onto everyone in 8 million acres throughout this county from the Utah border down to Parker. We now have ordinances in place to make sure that you can't have a rooster, but you can have a certain number of chickens, and we have people believing that there should be a stud service for said chickens. We have, don't laugh, it's true. We are told how many yard sales that we can have per year, how they need to be regulated. I would ask that this board think about creating some sort of oversight for development services, because I don't want to ask you guys to fire Tim Walsh, because the last time I asked you to fire somebody, you gave him a new contract and gave him a raise and promoted him practically. So I'm not going to ask that you do that, but there needs to be some oversight over this guy, because he's not doing his job properly when we have 400 open cases at any given time in this county of complaints that can be anonymous, so you don't know who's making charges against you. I guess the last thing that I would like to ask is, while I was in the Navy, I took an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States against enemies, foreign and domestic. I was told on April 3rd of last year, that I don't have Fourth Amendment rights until it becomes a criminal matter. So I would ask that somebody arrest Mr. Esplin for a domestic enemy of the state. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Kenny Works, and after that we have the people signed up from Fort Mojave, and we'll get to that in a minute.
Kenny Works, Yucca, Arizona. Happy New Year. Republics decline into democracies, and democracies degenerate into despotisms. Our current despotism has been going on for 3 years now, and hopefully at the end of the 2024 we'll have rid of ourselves of the current despotism that we're in right now, beginning with the XL pipeline and the concept that prosperity is not to be expected by Americans. A second Trump run at the White House amounts to waiting passively to be saved. One side seeks power, the other only campaigns. Merely treading water through electoral victories has proven to be the recipe and course to enslavement. As far as the progressives go, the goal of progressives is no longer clear. Never has been. Progress to where? If what we're currently going through is what their goal is, I'm against it, and hopefully we can get rid of what's going on right now at the end of this year. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so we have about 30 or so people signed up to talk from Fort Mojave. And again, you have 3 minutes, but I respectfully ask if you have the same points as the speaker before him, you can get up and say you agree, but it is your 3 minutes. The first up is Mac McKeever. And after Mac, it's Kelly Refram.
Good morning, Supervisor Angus, or I should say Chairman Angus this morning, and Board of Supervisors. I'm Mac McKeever, and I live at Shelby Road in Fort Mojave. I've been there for 7.5 years and lived in Mojave County for 11 years now. Just want to say I'm in opposition to the proposed location of the Fort Mojave natural gas power plant because it's just too close to houses and schools. Picture 1 here that I put on the monitor shows where that plot of land is in relation to the houses in Sunrise Hills. There's a couple of measurements on there. Pretty much shows that to the corner is about 1,473 feet to the house that's referenced in that. So I've been out and visited that property on several occasions. And I took this picture about 2.5 weeks ago. Let me see if I can get it turned the right direction. This is what I perceived as the farthest corner of that 15-acre plot. I put this little pile of rocks there as a reference and took a laser ranger out there yesterday. It's about 2,291 feet to the houses in the foreground from that. Tried to find what I considered was the center of the plot yesterday. Again, took some pictures and took that ranger and measured from the center of the plot to the houses. It's about 1,748 feet by that laser ranger to that plot. So again, in the middle of the plot where MEC has said they plan on building it, it's still only within 1,700 feet from the houses in that area. This is the southwest corner of the lot, and if you look straight west down the road, which I believe is part of Ashley, or I'm sorry, it's Antoinette going straight west, the houses down there are 1,159 feet from the corner of that lot. And you can see they're in a clear view of the corner of that plot where they recommend building that plant. We took a drone out with us yesterday and took this picture yesterday. Which way we're going to turn it? There we go. Okay. And we launched that drone from just inside what we felt was the southwest corner, flew it up over the sand berm that's next to it, and that drone actually tracks footage. I know it's really hard to see on this picture, but it's 1,159 feet as the crows flies from that southwest corner of that plot to the first house. So Supervisor Angus, Chairwoman Angus, I reached out to you before Christmas. We had several conversations. I appreciate you getting back with me. You said at that time you would meet me at that location so I could show you how close to these houses it was. We've agreed to meet after the first of the year. I know the holidays kind of shadowed everything we had trying to go on. You stated at that time that if the houses were that close that you would actually side with me, so I'm looking forward to our meeting. I know I'm running out of time, but
Thank you.
So I appreciate your help. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Kelly Refram? And then Bob Hooker?
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair, Board. My name is Kelly Revem. I live on East Alternate Drive in Fort Mojave. I've been there for about 1.5 years since our home was built. I'm in opposition to the proposed location for this electrical generation plant on 15 acres, as primarily for another reason is the impact of the noise. Natural gas-fired peaker plants operate at a sound level of approximately 85 decibels at 50 feet outside the base plant. Based on Omni calculations, the sound level decreases by 6 decibel rule, which states that whenever the distance that separates you from the sound source doubles, i.e. moving from 100 to 200 feet, the sound source will drop approximately 6 decibels. If the plant operates at 85 decibels at 50 feet, there are residences approximately 1,250 feet away, the sound from those houses would be approximately 57.04 decibels. At 2,500 feet, the noise level would still be approximately 51.02. Noise levels from the 50 to 57 decibel range is the equivalent of a dishwasher, washing machine, or even a small portable generator running at 20 feet distance, according to Yale University and the Honda Corporation. No one wants to live near a refrigerator, dishwasher, or generator running every evening or ever when you're trying to enjoy your own backyards and pools. Based on these, I'm appealing to the Board of Supervisors to place this matter back on the board's agenda and reopen the floor for additional discussion. Thank you very much.
Bob Hooker, and then Elsie Arfons. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong.
Good morning, Chair Angus and members of the Board of Supervisors. My name is Bob Hooker. I live on South Vanderslice Road in Fort Mojave. I've lived there for 3 years. I also am in opposition to the proposed location, but a few different points. On MEC's application to the Planning and Zoning Commission was a request for an amendment of a rezone regarding Board of Supervisors Resolution number 2018-041. The previous condition language stated that it be rezoned MX heavy manufacturing for a mineral reclamation plant enclosed in a building only. The proposed new condition completely removed the condition of a mineral reclamation plant enclosed in a building. MEC also submitted a request for an extension of time, stating that the conditions had not been met for submittal and recordation of the previous zoning request because of a change in ownership. This is untrue, because the mineral reclamation plant idea was abandoned in 2018, almost 4 years before the change of ownership in 2022. No documentation that was submitted to Planning and Zoning indicated that MEC was planning to build a natural gas-fired electrical generating facility at this location. This was only mentioned verbally by John Martell, COO of MCC, twice in the Planning and Zoning meeting on November 8th, per the minutes of the meeting. This item then went before the Board of Supervisors on December 4th. We were here and forced to express our concerns and state our opposition to this location. This agenda item was for adoption of BOS Resolution number 2023-223. This was an amendment to the previous BOS Resolution number 2018-041. Approval of this resolution would remove the condition of the enclosed reclamation plant and grant MEC an extension of time for their new plan. Once again, MEC is calling it an energy facility in the Fort Mojave vicinity. The Planning and Zoning Commission had already recommended approval by unanimous vote. However, Planning and Zoning should have canceled the previous zoning change when the time period had expired and reverted this back to the previous zoning due to lack of action, per Mojave County regulations. After a motion to approve here on December 8th, the vote was on December 4th, the vote was 4-1 with Ron Gould in opposition. Based on these facts, I feel MEC misrepresented their intentions to the Planning and Zoning Commission and the Board of Supervisors. I also feel Planning and Zoning Commission and Board of Supervisors were negligent in their duties during this entire process. I'm appealing to the Board of Supervisors to place this matter back on the board's agenda and to reopen the floor for additional discussion and reconsideration of the extension at their next board meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Elsie Arfons. Thank you very much. Carol Hooker, and I assume you're related to Bob. And then after, Jennifer Attaway.
Hi, good morning. My name is Carol Hooker. We live on Vanderslice Road. We are full-time residents at the address for the past 3 years, and we are both, I reiterate with my husband, in opposition of the proposed location of the natural fire gas plant. We are not customers of MEC. We are Unisource customers. The MEC, when they stated at the December 4th meeting that they would allow us some of the electricity, not possible. Unisource and MEC do not have compatible systems, period. There is no way we're going to get any of that power. We don't want that thing out there. With regard to the people that were making presentations on the December 4th meeting about a mass power outage in September of 2021, they were all wrong. What happened was there was no power because it was a power line issue. The storm that rolled through knocked down hundreds of power poles. We had live wires across the street in front of our house, and the poles went through the fences. It was a mess. Even if that gas-fired power place was out there, they couldn't get the power to us. There was no poles and no wires. So I don't understand why they want to put that damn thing right there, right by our houses. EPA research noted, we found information that in the 3-mile radius, there is going to be homes, churches, schools, pets, livestock, agriculture. This power plant will be emitting all kinds of toxins and waste, and it will be blowing through the corridor, north to south, that we get the wind. So when it's going south, the people at the end down towards Needles are going to get all that toxins. When it blows the other way north, people up in Bullhead are going to have a rude awakening when they get this power plant generated and the wind shifts and all those pollutants go north. It's just not a good idea. Not a good idea at all. So instead of affecting just those few thousand people in that 3-mile radius, you're going to be affecting thousands of people in the Mojave Valley, in that corridor. So, I agree with my husband. I would like to see this back on the agenda for a revote, and thank you.
Jennifer Attaway, and then Robert Beverly.
Good morning. My name is Jennifer Attaway. I reside at East Arturo Drive in Fort Mojave. I've lived there for about a year. I'm in opposition to the proposed location of the Fort Mojave natural gas fire power plant because myself and my 24-year-old daughter that also resides with me are both cancer survivors. According to the American Lung Association, natural gas or methane power plants emit significant air pollutants which are harmful to people living near the plant and also harm health hundreds of miles downwind. These pollutants cause cancer and other health problems. I feel MEC misrepresented their intentions to the Planning and Zoning Commission and the Board of Supervisors. Therefore, I am appealing to the Board of Supervisors to place this matter back on the board's agenda to reopen the floor for additional discussion and reconsider of the zoning extensions for the next board meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Robert Beverly, and then Linda Reffren.
Good morning, Chairman Angus, members of the board, supervisors. I'm Robert Beverly. I live on East Alternative Drive. Have owned the home for a little over a year now. My biggest concern, basically what she just said, is the release of the toxic chemicals. The EPA recommends 3-mile distance from these, so our neighborhood or any neighborhood, these plants should not be there. I have asthma, so I can't be breathing this stuff. So if they end up with plants, I'll probably have to sell my house. So I urge you to reconsider your decision and allow the plant to be built there and put it back on the agenda so that we can work on this. Therefore, I'm appealing to the Board of Supervisors to place it back on the board's agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda Reffren, and then Darren Waldo.
Hi, good morning, Chairman Angus and members of the Board of Supervisors. My name is Linda Rivem. I live on 2631 Alterna Drive in Fort Mojave. I've lived there for a year and a half. I am in opposition to the proposed location of the Fort Mojave natural gas fired plant. because this is information from the EPA that I got directly offline. Burning fossil fuels at power plants creates emission of sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, particulate matter, carbon dioxide, mercury, and other pollutants. Nitrogen oxides and sulfur dioxide emissions contribute to the formation of ground-level ozone and fine particulate matters, which can lead to respiratory, cardiovascular problems, and exposure to mercury can increase the possibility of health issues ranging from cancer to immune system of damage. I feel at the last meeting in December that you guys had no knowledge of gas fire plants. The only one that actually did some research was Ron, and we appreciate that, Ron. So you guys need to start researching. Listen, you don't want to kill Fort Mojave. It is so close to town. Think about your families, the children. They're outside all the time, and they're young. Do you want them to start growing with these toxins and all the ozone in their lungs and such? Based on these facts, I feel MEZ misrepresented their intentions to the Planning and Zoning Commission and the Board of Supervisors. I am appealing to the Board of Supervisors to place this matter back on the board's agenda and to reopen the floor for additional discussion and reconsideration of the extension at their next board meeting. As far as I know, any of the MEC customers I know, they are not aware of this at whatsoever. We need information, we need details. We have called them and they won't even share information with us. They're hiding it. Thank you.
All right, Darren Waldo and then Brenda Thronson. Can you come on down and be ready? Brenda Thronson. Okay.
Good morning. My name is Darren Waldo. I live on Alterna Drive. We've all built our homes or dream homes that we've probably plan on living in the rest of our lives there, and had no idea something like this could come up. I'm in opposition of it. The health concerns, the property value concerns, everything. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Brenda and then Gerald Meyer. If you'd come on down.
Brenda Thronson, and I agree with every red shirt here and all the ones that could not be here.
Thank you very much. Gerald Meyer and then John Martinez.
Good morning, Chairman Angus and members of the board. My name is Gerald Meyer. Excuse me. I live at 6016 South Jaguar Court, which is approximately a quarter mile from where the plant is. I've lived there for 22 years, and I feel that the location is convenient for Mojave Electric because they already own the property, and there's a gas line in the close vicinity. I also feel that Mojave Electric knows all the ramifications of a gas-powered power plant, but they failed to address them properly. Any corporation should have health and safety to all as their highest priority, not profit. Last month at the meeting, we had numerous people come up and say they were for the project. They all lived in Bullhead City, approximately 10 miles away. And also, I personally feel that they did it for profit. They were on the clock. In the application to speak here, I feel it would be helpful if we all disclosed our affiliation for the projects. And I am retired, and I have no affiliation with Mojave Electric except that I'm a paying customer. I feel Mojave Electric was not truthful of their intentions to the Planning and Zoning Commission and the Board of Supervisors. Therefore, I am appealing to the Board of Supervisors to reconsider and place this matter back on the board's agenda to reopen the floor for additional discussion and reconsideration of the zoning extension at their next board meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. John Martinez, and then Kenneth Edgar.
Good morning. My name is John Martinez. I live in Fort Mojave. I've lived there for off and on for about 17 years, permanent resident for the last 6 or 7. I'm in opposition to the proposed location of the natural gas-fired electrical generation plant on a 15-acre parcel of land in the southwest corner due to implications of decreased property values. Most of us in the immediate vicinity of this proposed location are retired, and this was to be our forever home. Most cannot afford to take a loss in property values, sell their homes, or move to another location to escape this power plant. The impact of industrial manufacturing sites on residential property values based on a study by ResearchGate and urban.org referenced a decrease in value of 11 to 12% depending on the proposed toxic pollutants, the noise levels, and the reduced landscape visual quality. On the median home price in Fort Mojave, it's $345,000. That's a substantial loss in value amounting to over $38,000 per residence. There are approximately 8,000 properties in this 3-mile radius on this proposed plant. Using those numbers and the estimated property value reduction of 11%, property taxes, revenue loss for the county, for this Mojave County, shows a potential tax loss estimate of over $1.6 million. Based on these facts, I'm appealing to the Board of Supervisors to place this matter back on the board's agenda and to reopen the floor for additional discussion and a reconsideration of the extension at their next board meeting. Thank you.
Mike Wise.
Good morning. My name's Kenneth Edgar, and I was going to make a speech, but I agree with the rest of my colleagues here, and please put it back so we can all talk about it.
Thank you. After Mr. Wise, Kathy Uden. I think that's what's said, Uden.
I want to agree with all the red shirts out here. I think it's something that we need to sit down and go over and think about.
Thank you. After Thank you, Kathy. Don Matson.
Good morning and thank you. My name is Don Matson. I live in Fort Mojave on Mayra Street. We're relatively new to the neighborhood, and we're surprised that such an endeavor would be considered in such close proximity to homes of basically senior citizens. Everyone nearest the proposed location of the plant are retirees. We're all seniors, therefore we're a little more risky for lung-type diseases, which I'd like to read through the pollutants one more time for you, that all contribute to issues related to lung activity. Nitrogen oxides, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, volatile organic compounds, sulfur dioxide, particle matter. All of these are going to be an issue for those of us that live that close to the site. It's going to have more of an impact also on you. At some point, they'll notice that, see, if this goes through and the plant is built at that location, they'll notice that the seniors that live nearby will start to be more sick than the rest of the community. Why was that? Well, because the zoning was changed. The supervisors of this time period, 2024, are going to be the ones that we're going to be looking at as that's who made the decision. So I hope it's not a bad legacy for you as supervisors to come back in some time in the future that your contribution to our health issues comes up. So I would like to appeal to you to revisit this, reconsider the zoning. I know there's been zoning inappropriate decisions, and I'd like you to revisit that, and I appeal to you to do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Where are we at? Dottie Norman and Brad Norman. And then after them, Carol Kingsbury.
Good morning. My name is Dottie Norman. I live on Nez Perce Road in the Sunset Hills development. My husband and I have owned that property for the last couple of years. My elderly parents live in that neighborhood on a full-time basis. I'd like to state that we oppose the county supervisor board approval of the land use action that allows the development and operation of the gas-powered power plant in the heart of a residential community. Hildy, specifically, I've read on your web pages that you're passionate about public service and solving problems. If that is true, then I implore you to take action to revisit the public safety aspects and concerns surrounding your approval of the land use action for MEC and the approval of the other board members, excluding Mr. Rongold. The decision by you and the board to approve the land zoning with full knowledge of the end use speaks volumes about each of your cited and questionable self-serving personal interests and your values. I agree with previous comments made by others here regarding the negligence of this board to do a fact-finding and really understand the land use, the impact to the community, and the resulting public health aspects. I also challenge the Mojave Electric Cooperative's stated values of accountability, integrity, and commitment to community. There's subversion going on. There's hiding, not coming forth with what their true intent is. And we're asking that the Board of Supervisors revisit your decision to approve that land use action and put the decision back on the agenda for reconsideration. Thank you.
Carol and Richard Kingsbury.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the Board of Supervisors. My name is Carol Kingsbury. My address is 2603 Pawnee Trail, Fort Mojave, Arizona. I've lived there for 3 years. I am in opposition to the proposed location of the Fort Mojave natural-fired gas power plant because it is too close to my home, about 2,000 feet. They emit known toxins and will cause myself and family health issues. It will devalue my property and therefore decrease the county revenue in taxes. It needs to be at least 3 miles away from any home. It affects 16 home developments and 8 schools in a 3-mile radius. December 4th, the Board of Supervisors meeting, was tainted with MEC employees and ECC employees flooding the podium with approval of the gas plant while never saying they are employees of MEC and ECC. I have a list of some of those people to share with you, including their positions. All of them will benefit financially. Their names have been cross-checked with their company websites. I strongly urge all of you to visit the proposed site and see for yourselves why we are in such heavy opposition of this gas plant. It shouldn't be in anyone's backyard. I feel MEC misrepresented their intentions to the Planning and Zoning Commission and the Board of Supervisors. Therefore, I am appealing to the Board of Supervisors to place this matter back on the board's agenda and to reopen the floor for additional discussion and reconsideration of the zoning extension at their next board meeting. Thank you. Do you need to see this? I'd like for you to have it.
You can give it to the clerk.
Yeah, it's all the way from Board of Directors, accounting, capital credits. It's really, really deceptive.
Did you want to speak, Mr. Kingsbury?
Yes, I do. I agree with everything my wife said.
Of course you do. You have to.
My name is Richard Kingsbury. I live at 2603 Pawnee Trail, Fort Mojave, Arizona for the last 3 years. I am in opposition to the proposed location of the Fort Mojave natural gas-fired power plant because there are two types of gas-powered plants: combined cycle plants and simple cycle plants, also known as peaker plants. Is that up there? Also known as peaker plants. Peaker plants are less efficient and more polluting than combined cycle plants. Peaker plants can also generate more NOx, nitrogen oxide, and CO, carbon monoxide emissions. MEC was very unethical also in the presentation of the people for the plant. 8 of them, as my wife showed you, were employees on the clock, 4 board directors, 6 ECC employees, which is a third-party construction company working with MEC at this time, and they were also probably on the clock. I feel they were being paid to say what they said. John Martell knew these were employees and board of directors, but did anyone acknowledge and say, I am an employee or I am on the board of directors? No, they did not. I feel this is very unethical as a business practice. In 2018, the parcel was changed to a manufacturing zone with a stipulation of 2 years to develop rock crushing indoor plant, then revert back to residential. Why was this not reversed back to residential? We're in the time of electronics, computers. All they have to do is flag this, and it should have popped up in 2020 that we have to do something with this zoning. This should have been put back to residential in 2020. As the Board of Supervisors requested this was a condition that was given by the Board of Supervisors at that time. Also, there are 9 schools impacted by these toxins from a peaker plant. They are harmful to our children. They are harmful to our adult senior citizens. There is also 16 communities that will be impacted in 1 airport. I know that Hildy, Angus, you were going to meet with Mac. I wish all of you would meet with Mac and look where this is exactly sitting. Thank you.
Thank you. Liza Valderia, and then Terry Wolf. And after Terry, Donna Meyer.
Good morning, Chairman Angus and the board members. My name is Liza Valdivia. I live in Alterna Street. My husband and I retired from law enforcement, and we picked Fort Mojave because this was going to be our forever home. So when we found out about this natural gas power plant being built in our neighborhood, in our backyard, we didn't want this. So this is the reason why, we're here to oppose it. We are not opposing the gas-powered plant. We are opposing the location. So I just want to say, because if it was in any of your guys' backyard, you guys wouldn't want that either. So I'm just begging you and pleading you, you guys please just reconsider your, I'm so sorry, I'm so nervous right now. How can I say this? Let me go back. We don't want this in our backyard, just like you guys wouldn't want in any of your backyards. The people that were here on December 4th speaking were members of the MEC employees, which they did not tell any of you guys that they were for this. They were in favor for it because they work for this company. Like a couple of my neighbors had said, we're not even going to be using that power if our power does go down. So I feel that MEC misrepresented their intentions to the Planning and Zoning Commission and the Board of Supervisors. Therefore, I am appealing to the Board of Supervisors to place this matter back on the board's agenda and to reopen the floor for additional discussion and reconsideration of zoning extension at their next board meeting. And we also gathered 539 signatures of the petition. I don't know if this is, am I not doing this right? We gathered signatures for the petition of this location in our backyard. So if you guys, I don't know, should I give it to them? Okay, so that's all I have to say. Thank you. Sorry.
Terry Wolf. And then Donna Meyer.
Good morning, Chairman Ingus and board members. My name is Terry Wolf. I live at 2603 East Alterna Drive, a stone's throw away from this location that they're planning to put the gas power plant. When the wind blows, it's going to blow right into all of us on Alterna Drive, our patios. And, you know, my biggest concern right now is health issues. There's a lot of people in this community that have health issues that they don't need. They don't need this. We're not against the power plant per se. It's the location. We don't want to see it. We don't want to smell it. We do wish that we feel that MEC misrepresented their intentions to the Planning and Zoning Commission and the Board of Supervisors. Therefore, I am appealing to the Board of Supervisors to place this matter back on the agenda and to reopen the floor for additional discussion and reconsideration of the zoning extension at the next board meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Meyer. And then Deborah McKeever and Mary Arciniega.
Good morning, Chairman Andreas and members of the Board of Supervisors. My name is Donna Meyer. I reside at 6016 South Jaguar Court in Fort Mojave. I'm in opposition to the proposed location of the Fort Mojave gas-fired power plant, and I will tell you why. My husband and I sold our home in Needles, California in 2001 due to the escalating noise levels living along the river. I had told my husband if we weren't living along the river, then I wanted a mountain view. We proceeded to purchase a lot on Jaguar Court with pristine mountain views and desert views of the Black Mountains. We have a big picture window looking out over all this. I do not want this power plant coming in and looking at this straight out my window, which will be about 1,350 feet away from me. My husband and I both have severe asthma, COPD, pulmonary fibrosis issues. We do not want all these obnoxious fumes to infiltrate us anymore. We don't want this for the people around us. Unbeknownst to us that in the past, when Ron Bernstein built these homes, it produced, I'm backtracking a little bit, but it produced a lot of really fine silty sand when he leveled the land back there. Our yard was just literally covered with sand. So we got past that. We've got new neighbors in the neighborhood next to us. None of us want this. None of us want our children to have these obnoxious fumes. There are schools, there's a lot of children in the area with cancers, etc. I have in my hands, right here, a bunch of documents that I pulled off of the internet, which is so easy to find how bad these gas peaker plants are. These gas-fired plants spew, as you've heard, obnoxious chemicals, fumes, that develop they develop worse conditions for us that are already sick, and new conditions for people who aren't sick. I have, there's approximately 8,700 homes within this 3-mile radius. Do you want these children and families and seniors to create or have created health issues? Based on the facts, I feel Mojave Electric Corporation misrepresented their locations. Please put this back on the agenda. Thank you.
Okay. Deborah McKeever, then Mary Arciniega, and then the last one is, that's not part of this, so keep that.
Okay. I have a poster here of our flyer that we've been distributing to the community. I'm going to make this brief. My speech was following the Kingsburys. I have a list of the 23 employees or representatives of Mojave Electric that misrepresented I just feel that we were unfairly represented at the last Board of Supervisors meeting, where Mojave Electric had 23 of their people representing themselves as everyday agents or everyday citizens and not saying that they were agents of the company. I think this was clearly set up to make it look like they were ordinary constituents, and it was very deceitful. I feel this is a conflict of interest and an ethical business practice, and I just would like the board to revisit this whole entire situation because I think it was really shady. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary?
Good morning. My name is Mary Arciniega. I live at 2592 East Nespers Road, just a little over 2,000 feet from the proposed power plant. Everything I was going to say, everyone else has already said, so I'm not going to repeat all that. But I do want to throw out a couple of facts. Number one, the population of Fort Mojave, over 50% of the population is either under the age of 18 or over the age of 65. Those are the groups that are most susceptible to the health hazards of a peaker plant. And I mean, you can Google it, and there's so many bad things that come up for peaker plants. Very few good things. I have to laugh. I did Google the benefits of living near a gas-fired power plant. One of the benefits is cheaper housing. Oh boy, you know, because now if I want to get out of there and try to sell my house, I'm going to be losing thousands of dollars because cheaper housing. So one of the things that during the prayer this morning, the pastor said we should all be good neighbors, and she also prayed for our good health. Well, I hope that you supervisors take that into consideration, that, you know, we all be good neighbors and hopefully healthy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for coming. I have the last speaker, our friend Armin Stang. Excuse me? You got here late. No, I accidentally put him at the bottom.
Oops, someone forgot their papers. Okay, I'll give it to her. Okay, I'm in Stang of Fort Mojave. Got a little problem in our neighborhood. And I be playing just a short recording. And that is a recording from 4201 Camino de Iba. It takes a little bit. You clearly hear the gunshots, don't you? That is on December 14th at, what was that, 22:35 and 40 seconds. Sheriff's Department was called. Deputy showed up. We didn't know there were shots fired. So it was called back to the Sheriff's Department that there were shots fired, and it kind of got brushed off by whoever answered the phone. No action taken, no anything on that property. So now it goes, code enforcement has records that there's a drug property, there is junk, everything going on there. County manager is not having his people under control. County attorney needs to grow a pair and keep them people in jail, not just miss 40 charges just because, you know, it's ridiculous. A retired disabled Marine lives next door to them. He puts his life on the line for this country. Why does he have to live like this? This is unacceptable. You know, he served his country. So I think the county should do something about it. The other thing is, there's a code enforcement guy going around telling my neighbors that I don't have enough property, that I have less than an acre property. I think he should apologize to me publicly here in front of the supervisors. And I think Tim Walsh knows who it is. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And with that, we're going to close the call to public. On to the consent agenda, items 5 through 66.
Supervisor Angus?
Yes.
I'd like to make a comment, please.
Oh, just go right ahead.
Thank you. During the call to the public, since this is the beginning of a new year, I wanted to call out and thank the members that had positive messages to this board and to our constituents. And much to my surprise, it's a couple of people that I never thought would start out this new year positive. I want to give credit to Jennifer Esposito and Steve Robinson, also Wayne Hollins, which off and on is very positive, and Kenny Works, who's almost always positive. But, you know, I really appreciated those 4 people coming forward in all the controversy in this political world we find ourselves in to find something positive to start the new year off with. So thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'd like to refer to the county manager and also perhaps the county attorney's office. I'd like a report based on what we've just heard from the last speaker about potential illegal discharge of a firearm in a residential area. I'd like to know about that.
Any other comments? Supervisor Johnson? Are you still with us?
Nothing,
Okay, I'll take that as a
Madam
no.
Chair.
Okay, consent agenda items 5 through 66. Any of the board members want to take any out? Supervisor Bishop?
50.
50. Supervisor Lingenfelter?
Item 14, please.
14. Supervisor Gould?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Item 43.
43,
item 51,
51,
item 61,
61.
and item 62.
Very good. And Supervisor Johnson?
54.
54? Okay, so I need a motion to approve agenda, consent agenda items minus 14, 43, 50, 51, 54, 61, and 62.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item 14, this is sitting as the Board of Directors for Mojave County Flood Control District. It's to accept a grant award of $3 million to design and construct basins as part of the Wallapai Aquifer Infiltration Basins Program.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I asked to pull this simply to acknowledge the work of staff. We were awarded, the county was awarded with a grant in the amount of $3 million for rapid infiltration basins within the Wallapai Valley Groundwater Basin. I just wanted to pull this and say thank you for that.
Very good. You want to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 43. Turn my page. This is to deny the petition for the extinguishment of the 10-foot wide public utility easement that we heard about earlier.
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
I just pulled this so that that individual property owner could speak to the issue if he chose to.
Okay, believe his name is Mr. Dornan. Is he still here? Is there anything else you'd like to say?
When I got the paperwork back from the county and per my application, there is only a water line, the city water line, that is running in that easement. I've talked to the city of Kingman Water Department, and they are going to abandon that line. UNS hasn't anything in that easement, and there's nothing behind me to actually build on. And they wanted to have it for future. Well, I'm living right now, and I need it right now, not in the future. Let's see, the last thing was, what was the last thing? If I can't remember it right now, I guess it's not okay. But yes, I just like to make my property a better property. It seems like the whole area is getting cleaned up and putting new houses on it, like mine. So I just want to be able to use my land that I've already paid for. It's
Okay.
already bought and paid for.
Thank you. Is there anyone from Public Works on the line that can address this?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Steve Latowski is on the.
Okay,
is
I'll
in
wait
the
for him
meeting.
to pop up. You here? Mr. Latowski, you here?
Yes, Chairman Angus, members of the board,
Okay.
yes.
So this gentleman says that he got permission from the city of Kingman, and it's only about that water line. Does that change anything as far as Public Works is concerned?
Chairman Angus and members of the board, yes, City of Kingman does have infrastructure in the easement, and they would be amenable to relocating their infrastructure. However, we reached out as well to Unisource Energy. Unisource Energy has facilities in this easement. They object to the easement extinguishment on the premise of having those utilities in the easement, as well as future plans, future projects that may also need the easement. Frontier Communications also responded. While they don't object per se, they did indicate that there's an anchor that may need to be relocated. And then there's one also, another individual, a property owner, just to the east, actually borders the applicant's property, and just to the east, he also indicated that he does not approve. He only cited that he is concerned because he has a vacant lot. He is only concerned that it may limit his access to future utilities for his land. And that APN is 310-22-014, so it's a larger parcel just to the east.
Okay. Any questions from the board? So your opinion is still that this should be denied?
I'm sorry.
Chairman
No, not
Angus,
you. I'm
members of
still
the
talking,
board,
Mr.
generally staff will make a denial only on the premise of the responding utilities voicing such requests as well for denial.
Okay. What say you?
Madam
Board?
Chairman,
Yes.
motion to deny.
We have a motion to deny, a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Sorry, thank you. Okay, next up, we have item 50. That is approve and authorize out-of-county travel for the assessor to attend meetings and do her thing. Who took this out?
I did. Thank you, Madam Chairman. I just thought I'd give the assessor an opportunity to explain why she needs to travel out of the county on the county dime.
Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisors Board, Chairman, thank you for having me up here. Under Title 38, Public Officers and Employees, it indicates I am a public officer. Under that title, the provisions of this article shall apply to every public officer or department. Authorization for travel claims when an official duty of a public officer in 38-622, deputy or employee require the public officer to travel from the public officer's designated post of duty. The public officer shall be allowed reimbursement of the expense.
Madam Chairman. Assessor Kench, I think they're talking about your office, not Phoenix, in that statute.
It's doing my duty, sir. I'm elected by and represent the property owners of Mojave County. I believe it is my official duty to represent said property owners at the state legislature when necessary. Due to the success of the Mojave County's Address Protection Program, our office has been a great asset to getting legislation moved forward for deed protection. This year, I am working with our Representative Gillette in a bipartisan effort to help protect our property owners and from deed and identity fraud. This timely topic is utmost importance and cannot be delayed. My presence will be frequently necessary to help progress these bills. Thank you.
Chairman Angus.
Yes, go ahead.
So Assessor Kitch, you are projecting at least 12 trips to Phoenix to participate in the legislative process. Do you feel like CSA, County Supervisors Association, and ACO, the Arizona Elected Officials Association, their directors and their staff, as well as our own elected legislators, Sonny Borelli, Leo Biasucci, and John Gillette, are not capable of bringing our voice to the Capitol?
No, ma'am, but I believe since I've been working so closely with the Secretary of State's office and John Gillette, that my assistance would be formidable. Additionally, this is for the entire year, and it is in my budget. I'm using half of what I ask in my budget that you've already approved.
Okay, I appreciate that. Are you familiar with the request to speak?
Absolutely.
Have you used that before?
Absolutely.
So you know that you can make comments and put your personal positions on there, and the legislators will read that, and many times, in my experience anyway, they have contacted me personally when I've...
But when they have committees, you cannot, and you must be there within a 24-hour notice.
Okay, and you
they
can
have
watch
questions.
these committee meetings on the internet and on TV. You're aware of that?
There's a lot to be done behind the scenes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
In order
I
to
understand
get- in
that. I
order to
think
get
we all
bills
understand
passed,
that. We're all
absolutely.
elected officials, and we occasionally go down and testify if there's a particular bill of interest. But
Yeah, I'll be doing a
this
little
is an
bit more.
interesting year because we're projected to be 18.5 million in the red, and the travel freeze that this board has approved is countywide, and I think it's necessary that we
curtail our travel in any way possible, and 12 trips to Phoenix, I think, is a little excessive.
I am making certain that I put everything in there that I need, and that includes my ACO trips as well, and I am a representative from Mojave County, as well as the fact that you have approved my budget for over $2,000 for the same thing. I'm asking for half, staying with family members in order to save. So I also, as a conservative, would like to save, so I'm doing just that. But I think that deed fraud is very, very important, and I do need to be there. They have asked me personally to be part of many of the meetings, and I would like to bring my experience in regards to that to help these bills move forward.
Madam Chair.
Yes, please.
Assessor Kench, I think that there is value. The citizens of Mojave County are the ones that put you in the chair. And I don't want to micromanage you as a fellow elected official. I think that we've been hitting on this projected deficit for months now, all of last year, basically. So I know that you're aware of it, and I know that you're not going to be, or I trust that you're not going to be frivolous in your travel budget, saving where you can. I heard that you said you're going to be staying with family members. I do appreciate that. I think at the same time, though, you have some expertise and experience that is unlike the experience that our elected officials, our legislators have, either in the Senate or the House, excuse me. I think there is value in going down. The legislature in Arizona is kind of a weird animal. It's supposed to be 100 days. It never really lasts 100 days. A hearing can pop up like out of nowhere, sometimes with less than 24 hours notice that a bill is going to show up on the floor. And I think that it's important, at least to the citizens of Mojave County, that if you identify something within your realm, that you go down and you serve the people that elected you. So I don't think that this is unreasonable to ask. I'm going to support it.
Thank you.
I would like to say that there's nothing that replaces personal contact when you're trying to get things done. One of the reasons Mojave County has been so successful in its legislation and in getting money is because we have our voices heard by showing up. And everybody knows that. And I think that that would be a great use of $1,000, which is already approved in the budget, for you to do so. And I appreciate you trying to cut down the amount of money. I mean, I think that this is going to hurt a lot of that this year, which is going to be probably, it's a very important year for things I have to do, especially down at the state when they're always trying to get things from the county and cut our allocations and things like that. You have to show up. They have to see your face, or else you're just one of hundreds of names on an electronic board that comes in, right? One of thousands of names that comes up. Do you read? Okay, but do you read? I'm talking to Supervisor Gould because he was a state senator. Did you read all the things that came through on committees, comments?
Yeah, when you're sitting in committee, generally you're listening to lobbyists that are lobbying and saying redundant things, so you have plenty of time to go over email and look at the Allisons who signed in.
Right.
There's never 1,000 people. Bills don't pop up in 24 hours. You have about a 30-day period that the individual bodies hear their own bills for 30 days. They switch sides, and the bills that made it through the process, then the House bills go to the Senate, Senate bills go to the House. That's over in the second month. That's the end of bills that are being heard by committee. So it's the first 2 months. It doesn't go on until June. Generally, what happens is after the 120th day, you sit around doing nothing, waiting for a budget deal. So people don't need to be coming down to testify. It's the first 2 months.
So that'll mean less times that I need to go or spend any money. So that's good. But conversation does pop up at committees in less than 24 hours. And I know that because we've gotten a lot of bills passed. And it would be having to pop down there within overnight. It's not just bills, but the conversation and conference, absolutely, and committee.
Right. Okay.
Thank you.
What is the pleasure of the board?
Chairman Angus, I believe Scotty wanted to speak to this one. He's the reason that it was pulled, I believe.
Okay, come on up, but you had the opportunity to speak about it at the call to public, just so that you know in the future. But you chose not to speak about the 3 items that you pulled.
This just seems like this gives her an awful lot of leeway, especially since she's in charge of the Republicans Committee.
This has nothing to do with Republicans.
She's going to be doing Republican things on this. She's already done it
This
right.
has
getting
nothing to
restraining
do,
orders or
Scotty, that is not on the agenda. Has nothing to do with Republican business. Okay, what's the pleasure of the board?
Chairman Angus, I make a motion to deny the travel to Phoenix.
Second.
Okay, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Supervisor Lingenfelter?
No.
Supervisor Johnson?
Yes.
Supervisor Bishop?
Yes.
Supervisor Gould?
Yes.
Chairman Angus?
No.
Motion to deny carries.
Okay, motion is to deny. Number 51.
Hello. Morning, Madam Chairman and Supervisor Gould. Here to answer any questions on 51.
Madam Chairman.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Recorder Durst, I was just curious, where are we going to set up the emergency voting centers?
So typically it's just emergency voting in our office that Monday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Any other questions? Okay, would you like to make a motion?
Madam Chairman, I move that item 51 be adopted.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I keep losing my page. 61?
54?
Oh, I'm sorry, 54. Approve the Mojave County Sheriff's Office to retain 10 vehicles annually for the posse program. I think that was Supervisor Johnson.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, would you like to?
This is a new program they're instituting so that, at least if I'm reading it correctly, they'll only be using them for 1 year and then turning those back in so that we can sell them. The only question I have of the Sheriff's Department would be why they have to go from 5 vehicles to 10 vehicles for their reserve program. Are they feeling 10 cars a shift?
Is there someone from the Sheriff's Office here?
Sheriff
Online?
Schuster, good morning, Madam Chair, Board.
Hello, Sheriff Schuster.
You can hear me okay?
I can hear you, can't see you yet.
Yeah, that's okay. You don't want to see me.
what you look
Well,
like.
first of all, Happy New Year, and thank you for bringing up the question, Chairman Johnson. We typically run between 8 and 10 vehicles in this program a year. Our volunteer posse program is robust. It has gained traction over the years, and this is something we've been doing since I took office back in 17. The reason it's coming before you in this format, each year we come to the board and we hand select the best of the vehicles that are due for turn-in, meaning the deputies have used them. They're no longer going to be used on the street for patrol. And so we say we want units A, B, C, and D down the line. This request is to basically say we're going to continue with the model of using the very best of the units that are being turned in for a 1-year period and then reselecting another batch the following year. Any vehicles that go out of service would then be auctioned as we've done in the past.
Madam Chair, Sheriff Schuster, but you need to double the vehicles now? You have that many volunteers?
Madam Chair, Supervisor Johnson, yes, we have close to 70 volunteers, and we're not doubling them. I don't know. I think we normally run between 8 and 10. There are some years where we can't get vehicles based on what we're turning in. So with the area, the mass of the county, we have vehicles assigned in Mojave Valley, up on the Arizona Strip, and Kingman, Lake Havasu. So 10, it would be an adequate number for this year, yes.
All right, thank you for that, and I appreciate you guys turning them in after a year, so we still get some value when we sell them off. With that, I'd make a motion to approve.
Okay, motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 61, approve the funding agreement between Mojave County and Bullhead City to provide not to exceed $100,000 in ARPA monies for the purchase and installation of an inclusive playground at Rotary Park. That is my item, and it is, I think we actually talked about it before, and this is just the funding agreement. I know Scotty signed up for it. Do you want to say something, Scotty?
Yeah, speaking of things being in the wrong place, this is one of them again. Okay, here's where they want to put it. Here's the Colorado River, 300 acres of Rotary Park. Here's the dog park right here. And here's where people run with their
This is
dogs.
not our agenda item. Where Bullhead City chooses to put it, this is just to approve the money.
Well,
This is just
you're
the
putting it-
funding
you're
agreement.
wasting your.
You'll have to talk to Bullhead City about that,
Well, they're a
Scotty.
bunch of dunderheads. They don't go down
All
there and look
right,
at
well, there
nothing
goes your
else.
cursing resolution, so there you go. All right, with that, I make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carries. 62 is also mine. It's to approve the appointment of Bo Helms to the Mojave County Planning and Zoning Commission representing Supervisor District 2, mine. With that, I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And that is the end of, can we take a 5-minute break, everyone? Would that be okay? Thank you. Order? Are these okay? We have a bunch of public hearings. I'm going to open up these ones. The following are from Development Services Director Tim Walsh. I'm opening the public hearing for item 67, discussion and possible action to approve the adoption of BOS Resolution 2024-09. There is 67, and nobody signed up. With that, I'll close the public hearing.
Chairman Angus,
Yes, ma'am.
motion to approve?
Second?
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 68. This is, I'm going to open the public hearing, discussion and possible action to approve the adoption of Board of Supervisor Resolution 2024. It's a rezone. And we do have somebody signed up to speak, and that would be Lindsay Shuby. Do I have that right? I do. You're the applicant, so obviously you're in favor. Does anyone?
Madam Chair, members of the Board of Supervisors, Lindsay Shuby, 40 North Central, Phoenix, Arizona. Yes, we are in favor. I have a presentation, but if you don't need to hear it, I come forward with a recommendation of approval from P&Z and recommendation of approval from staff.
Well, thank you very much. Anyone else want to speak to item 68? Yes, sir?
Wayne Holland, Golden Valley. My opposition to this would be, again, installing this solar array and not taking the opportunity to use the water that would be underneath it. And it's a simple fact of improving the organic matter in the soil underneath it so the water goes into the ground instead of runs off the ground.
Okay.
Water is a major issue here, but we fail to take advantage of the opportunities we have to be able to put that water into the ground and use it.
Okay.
So I just would appreciate if we would start considering that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, anyone else speak to item 68? Yes, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm Kenny Works from Yucca. I was at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, and there were a few items that they failed to, or they did not concern them that concerns me. One would be glare, is the glare from the panels. I've had an experience where 5 miles of road going from towards Vegas, there was a billboard solar panel that was blinding traffic for about 5 miles down that road, brought it almost to a complete halt. But I don't know if there's any planning or any concerns about the company to deal with this glare. Across the highway, it could affect cars on the highway going by there. It could affect the mountains. It's a wilderness area up above there. I don't know if it's going to have any effect on that. But there was also the what are the batteries made out of? They're already building the battery shed. It's almost complete now. It's pretty close to the highway. I've seen semis going out into the median there off the road, and seems like it's close enough for that battery shed that to the highway proximity that could happen. Semi could go off the road and into the battery shed. So what's the construction of the batteries? What's the danger involved in that respect? And that's the only one that, the only two concerns that came to mind right away to me. I didn't bring my list with me, but thank you for
very
the
much.
opportunity to speak.
Okay. Anyone else for the public hearing? Okay, come on down, Mr. Robinson. Here's to you, Mr. Robinson.
Philip Robinson, Golden Valley. I approve this. I've had quite a few talks with the manager. General manager? Yeah. Quite a few talks with him. He even invited Golden Valley to go out there and take a tour. I did that. I think they're doing an awesome job. That's where a solar plant belongs, on the corridor. Not in our mountains, not on BLM land, not on Fed land, trust deed land, not there. Individual land. That's where it needs to belong. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing.
Chairman Angus,
Yes, ma'am.
motion to approve.
I'll second for discussion.
Okay.
I just want to make a comment that as everybody out there is aware, we do have a moratorium, but I believe this project would have qualified to continue through. It's affiliated with Griffith, and I think this is the appropriate place for it. So I'm going to be supporting it. Thank you.
Okay.
Madam Chairman.
Yes, Supervisor Gould.
I don't know if staff could tell me whether under our moratorium, does it require that the power is used locally? Or just that it's on the property of a consumer or a power plant?
Madam Chair, we have Deputy County Attorney Will Davis here. I think he may be able to answer that question.
Tim is on the line too. We'll take the guy who's in person.
Good morning, Board. Chairman Angus, Supervisor Gould. This project came in before the moratorium, so the moratorium conditions don't apply to it. That's why I was able to move forward. As to your particular question about the moratorium does have that as an exception for any company wishing to use the exception, that they would have to provide it locally.
So this one predates the moratorium?
Yes, they got their application in before the moratorium.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? We've got Tim Walsh on hold. Okay. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Now we're up to number 70. No, 69, right. So 69, again, I'm opening the public hearing. This is about the same property, correct? And I'm assuming your comments are the same, or unless you want to say something. Okay, and she is the only one that is signed up to speak. Anyone else want to speak on this one from the audience? Danielle?
Madam Chair and supervisors and county staff, I hope you all had a great new year. Danielle Olikek, Golden Valley, GVID metered customer. I want to start by thanking Attorney Esplin and Director Letowski for their thorough research and report on the GVID policies and procedures and the recommendation for denial. I agree that this petition for
Wait, this is not the right one. I'm
Oh.
so sorry. This is still on 69. This
I
is
only
about
signed
the energy overlay.
Oh, I only signed up for 82.
Okay,
Yeah, sorry.
all right. Very enthusiastic. All right, so we're back to number 69. No, don't worry about it. Okay. Close the public hearing if there's not anyone else.
Chairman Angus, I just wanted to clarify, you said this is the same property as item number 68. Actually, the parcel numbers are different. So
I'm sorry.
I just wanted to
I'm
point that
sorry.
out. This is for parcel number
It's a project.
206-03028, and I do make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 70, opening the public hearing. This is approve the adoption of Mojave County Ordinance 2024-01, an ordinance adopted requiring an owner, leasee, or occupant of real property in Mojave County to remove rubbish, trash, weeds, filth, debris, and all that stuff, constituting a public nuisance. I do have a couple of people signed up, Mr. DeSazier, then Armin Stang, and then Jennifer Esposito.
Chuck DeShazer from Topak. I have a couple of concerns on this. To begin with, why are we even addressing this issue? Because it was I guess, printed in the paper for, not the, what I have before me and your background. And we have 2020-7 that does everything it needs to do in this case. And if you add this 2024-01, you are not removing 2020-7 as far as I can tell in this anywhere. And you're adding a $50 fee. And if you look at item 7, I cannot figure this one out. It has removal of nuisance, and the wording in there gives you 30 days, it gives you 180 days, it gives you the Board of Supervisors. I'm assuming that's what they're saying by the board. And you're also looking at appointing a hearing officer that is a licensed attorney, unless you can't find one that will work for free, because there's no money listed to give this guy. But as soon as you give him money, it violates the very ordinance by saying he can't be an employee of the county. And once you start paying him, he's now an employee of the county. There's no reason why this needs to even exist. You have a perfectly good 2020-7 that has been used by code enforcement for at least 3.5 years now. And I just would like to know why this hasn't gone before planning and zoning or anywhere else, so that the director and the attorneys can lie to them like they did on item 71 coming up. Thank you. If you have any questions, I'm more than willing to come back up.
Mr. Sange?
I'm in Stanger, Fort Mojave. Okay, you have item number 70, and the Arizona Revised Statute 11268, it's already in fact since 2010. Why do we have more stuff coming on the books? We need to deal with the stuff we have already. Clarify it to the Board of Supervisors so there's one understanding, not take this out, take that out, remove the Board of Supervisors. We don't need that. We need a buffer zone for the citizens, not for the citizens to pay more. You just clarify one item at a time, not just write another article and have it come in front of the supervisors and nobody knows what the hell is going on. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Esposito?
Thank you, Chairman and Board. First, I want to say that I agree with what they said, so I'm not going to duplicate that. I also want to thank Tim Walsh for meeting with myself and Mr. DeShazer for about an hour to discuss this and the item after this. First of all, let me say there's more that I could say in 3 minutes, but due process is a right. You cannot sell someone back their constitutional right. If the Development Services Department wants to pursue an action, then they better make sure that they're going to prevail and that it's well documented. But you can't say you have to pay $50 if you want to appeal. I checked the ordinance that's referenced, the statute that's referenced, and it says there just has to be an appeal process. It doesn't state what that is, but it doesn't say you can charge a fee for that. Moreover, if you go to the statutes under the powers of counties, it also doesn't say you can charge fees for due process or change how due process of the accused works. There's really no statutory authority. Part of this problem is, apparently, is that way back in 1997, I believe, there was an ordinance that said that the appeals board or something, there was an appeals board, don't know what it was, none of this is online. In 97, there was a $50 fee approved. But apparently in 03 or 05 or something, you guys adopted the first incarnation of the international codes, which I believe said the same thing that the subsequent version, which is online, says, which says it's a complete repeal and replace. So now you have a problem where if you repealed and replaced everything up to that point, that would have meant you repealed and replaced the $50 fee that you had for some sort of appeals process that I can't even find. But it looks to me like this county has actually been extorting $50 fees from people without statutory authorization since 1997. And so I just like to point out that just because it's in Mr. Walsh's book doesn't mean it's valid, doesn't mean it's legal, doesn't mean it's constitutional. Just because it's in the book doesn't mean it's even a good idea. I mean, I think that Martin Luther King wrote in his Birmingham jail letter that everything that Hitler did was legal, right? So I think that we need to really look seriously at the idea that we sell people back their due process rights, because maybe there would have been a lot of people who appealed since 1997, or more people who would have appealed had they not had to pay a fee. I mean, it just, it just flies in the face of the Constitution for me, so I'd like to urge you to seriously consider this and hopefully not follow this path. Additionally, I'd just like to say that all of these problems that keep coming to you are because of the international codes. They're a model framework. They don't fit Arizona law. They don't fit Mojave County rural areas. I'd like to see them completely repealed and replaced with whatever we had before. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, anyone else want to speak on this? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. Supervisor Bishop?
I would like to ask our attorney to talk about this $50 fee. I'm in support of this this action item, but I wanted to be sure that this $50 fee is something that we're legally allowed to do.
Well, Chairman Angus, Chairman Angus, members of the board, a couple things. The fee, I don't have any concerns about due process in the fee for a couple reasons. One, courts, for example, charge fees, and they're allowed to charge fees, but there's a process by which those fees can be deferred or waived. So if we want to make sure we can do a process where they can ask to waive or defer the fee, we could do that. That'd be similar to how the courts handle it. Also, too, the way we wrote it is that it's only if it's refundable if they prevail. If they prevail, then they don't have to pay it. And it's also assessed at the end of the case. So when they file it, they don't have to pay $50 up front. And finally, if you don't want to have $50, you don't have to. It's not. I mean, it's not a make or break type of thing. I really don't know the history of whether we imposed $50 or not in the past. Staff or somebody wanted $50 in there, so we put a fee in there. If you want to change it to $2 or none, go ahead and do that. I really, it's no skin off my back. Regarding some of the other issues, if I could address, is that okay? Okay, just some of the other things. This one also does not involve the international code. It doesn't. The next one does, but this one does not. So there's no issues or reference about international code or anything like that. What this one involves is 11268. 11268 is the ordinance that allows is the statute that allows the board to pass an ordinance for the abatement of trash, weeds, and so forth. So we have to have an ordinance if we want to use 11268. That's the present day 2020-07. This is, for lack of a better word, 2020-07 2.0. This is the next version of it. I thought that the hearing officer would be a good idea because I actually thought that people like Ms. Esposito and the other people would actually want that because there's actually greater due process. We're giving them more due process instead of it saying, okay, the development services decides and then the board of supervisors decides. We're saying, hey, development services decides, and then we're giving it to an independent person who is not a county employee. Just because they're getting paid does not mean they're county employees. They're a contractor. We hire contractors all the time. They're not a county employee, so it's a contractor. And if you don't want to have an attorney, then have somebody else. I listed an attorney because, attorneys handle this kind of things and they could hear both sides and they can say, okay, I agree with this and that, and they're used to hearing disputes. That's what attorneys do. If you want to have somebody else, you can have a non-attorney do it. It really doesn't. I really thought that this would be something that the people would have a hearing officer. I totally missed the point then, I guess, if that's the case, because I really did think that you would want that. If you want, you can go back to 2020-07. I didn't have any problems with 2020-07 either. This is just the benefit to, we hear all these people come in and they gripe and complain and have concerns about it, so we try to improve it. And I think these are valid concerns here. If you want to tweak it where we take out the $50, you don't have the $50. If you want to have a non-attorney handle it, do that. If you want to bring it back to the board, you can do that. Whatever you want to do.
Thank you. Supervisor Gould.
To that point. What started this off is we had the International Building Code and we had 2020-07. And the community development was citing people under the International Building Code and then not telling them that they could appeal to the Board of Supervisors under 2020-07. So these kept coming up. So then they started citing them under both the International Building Code and 2020-07. And I said, when are you guys going to fix this? And then it happened again. I go, when are you guys going to fix this? Apparently the attorneys misunderstood my sarcasm that I believe in. Mr. Walsh was at the podium. I said, so your fix is to remove the Board of Supervisors from the process? That was a sarcastic comment. It was not me saying remove the Board of Supervisors from the process. I'm perfectly fine with 2020-07. I'm perfectly fine having people come and bring their appeals to us because that's what we got hired to do. I don't think that we should create another level of bureaucracy for this. And I'm not sure if this is the one that does it or whether it's 71. We create the Building Code Advisory Committee, then becomes the Board of Appeals for this, essentially. Those folks are regulated by the building department. I don't know how much they're going to push back against the building department when they are regulated by the building department. To me, that seems like a conflict. I don't want to hire an attorney for these cases to have an attorney as a hearing officer to do this. I'm perfectly fine having the board do it. They put a bunch of work into this. I'm sure they did, but really, I don't want to expand government. As far as the $50 fee, I might be unclear on the process, but if you cite me for, Gould, you got a pile of junk here, you need to clean that junk up, I should be able, and have done this, argued that that is not a pile of junk. And I should not have to pay a fee to make that argument. If I go to court and I say, Judge, this is not a pile of junk, this is my good stuff, and he disagrees with me and says, Gould, get rid of the junk, and I don't get rid of the junk, and then I want to further appeal, then I'm okay with a fee there. But I should not have to pay a fine to see a board or a hearing officer or something to dispute whether my stuff is a pile of junk or valuable things. So I don't know if our process allows for that or not. I really don't. But what I asked them to do was to either pick one or the other, but it wasn't to remove the Board of Supervisors in place of some board or hiring an outside attorney to do this. Thank you.
Chairman, if I could just briefly respond. Thank you, Chairman Gould. Supervisor Gould, I really appreciate that. And if I missed the mark, it's on me. It absolutely is on me. And so to kind of peel back just a couple of things, I believe that I know what you're talking about with using 2020-07 and 2021-03, put them on the same notice that you're talking about, combining them. I believe that I've instructed our department to not do that anymore. Is that correct, Mr. Davis? We're not doing that anymore? We've asked that they not do that, and we've stopped that practice. I'm not saying that this was legal or illegal. I'm just saying we have listened to you, and we've stopped that practice. So that is now in place now, and if it isn't, I will continue to reiterate to the attorneys in my office, hey, let's separate it out. Let's keep it separated. For the reasons you just said, I get it. I totally get it. Because we want to be responsive to you. If the board does not want to adopt these changes, that's perfectly fine. We can keep 2020-07 in place and chalk it up to my mistake for not understanding that you wanted something different. That's perfectly fine. And then we can go to the next one, the 2021. The next item do address the codes, and we can debate that one or not. But for this one, if you want to say keep it as it is, we certainly can do that. No skin off my back, not at all.
Okay, are there any other questions from board members?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
is Director Walsh on the line? I have one question for him. Director Walsh, can you hear me?
I can, sir.
Thank you. In what's presented to us today, on page 11, there's a county cost section with some fees, and it's per hour fees and county rate per mile. My only question is this what the fees are right now and the structure of those fees under 2020-07 as well? Or is there no fees?
Chairman Angus, Supervisor Lingenfelter, thank you. I believe, and I'm going to actually, if I can defer back to Attorney Davis, I don't believe that there are currently fees established with 2020-07. So to go back to Supervisor Gould's comments, we did have a number of questions coming up between the two ordinances, between 2020-07 and then also 2103, which is the building ordinance. And as was mentioned, we were referencing both of these ordinances as we pursued some of the dangerous buildings. So this exercise came basically in separating those two, clarifying the appeals process for each one, but then also establishing this fee schedule within 2401. So to go back to one of the comments that this would be in addition to 2007, this actually would repeal and replace 2007. So you would have 2401 in place of 2007, but it would be just as easy for us to go in and amend 2007 in order to add these fees.
Thank you, Director Walsh. My question is that I did not remember seeing fees in the current ordinance, and my concern is within my district, which is I think 65% of Mojave County, Supervisor Bishop's district, which is quite large. I have concerns that these per hour fees and rate per mile fees are going to unfairly impact the furthest outlying areas of the county. You might be lucky if you're in one of the cities because you're not going to have to travel very far. But if you live out, in maybe one of the new communities that are going out in White Hills or way up on the Arizona Strip, you might pay a bunch more for the same work. And I don't think I really agree with a structure that's going to penalize people for living in the furthest areas of the county.
Chairman Angus, Supervisor Lingenfelter, if I may, really the intent of these fees is to recoup the county cost on these abatements. So generally what happens is we'll have, and I don't know if it's echoing on your end, but it's echoing pretty good on mine, so I apologize if it's echoing on your guys' end. Try and gather my thoughts while I'm speaking here. So the intent is, as we assess these properties that we go in and abate, we place these additional fees to cover our costs that are incurred during the abatement and during the processing of these properties. So, yeah, your point is well taken that White Hills or even Beaver Dam or Colorado City would have a mileage quite a bit higher than what we would see, for say outside of the Kingman area. And that's something we could definitely take a look at if we wanted to just do if the board would like to do just a base fee across there to recover costs or just similarly to what we see with additional inspections rather than an hourly fee or something like that. Just, hey, for an inspection, it's going to cost $65 or
I'd like to see you come up with something a little more fair because we're all taxed the same in Mojave County. One group shouldn't be charged under this a substantial amount more for the same service than another citizen should be that just happens to live in a populated area.
And that point's well taken. That's something we can look at as well and address if the board would like.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Supervisor Johnson.
Thank you. Taking the opposite point of Supervisor Lingenfelter, why should people that are closer have to pay for the services requested by people in the far reaches? Somebody's going to pay for it. It should be the person that requests the service. That's all, Madam Chair.
Okay, anyone else?
Say maybe a compromise would be some sort of a flat rate, if there has to be something at all.
Chairman Angus, if I could step in.
Yes.
So, what we could do is if the board does not wish to incorporate these changes, the board could do nothing, and then we could bring back an item just for the fee schedule and just do a separate fee schedule and attach it for any services that are provided to 2020-07. We could do that, because it sounds like I don't know if you have an appetite for the other changes that are in here. Trying to figure out how the kind of path, how the board wants to handle this.
Okay. How's the board want to handle this?
Madam Chairman, I'm okay with taking no action on this and having them come back with a fee schedule that seems appropriate. You might want to give us some options.
Yeah, I think what Supervisor Lingenfelter said is legitimate. I get it. And also what Supervisor Johnson is saying is also valid. I mean, there's two sides to this, and both sides are arguing reasonable sides. Right now, as it stands, the way 2020-07 is written, and there's nothing in fees in 2020-07. It just says recover the cost. And so what the board is saying is, hey, we want to be able to identify what those costs are, so everybody knows this is how much it is. And so what we would do is we would bring it back and say, okay, this is what we will charge as our costs. And we could try to cap it. We could try to make a flat fee. We could try to do an alternate. I don't know. I'd have to talk with staff to see what they'd want to do. But whatever you guys think we could do, we could try to do. Where if we want to try to cap it like Supervisor Lingenfelter says, or make a flat fee, or try to accommodate what Supervisor Johnson is saying is try to it should cost for whatever the cost is. So we'd try to figure that out and bring it back.
Do the code enforcement officers come out of Kingman to do the strip area?
I don't know.
Chairman Angus?
Yes.
Supervisor Gould, we have code enforcement officers that are stationed both in Kingman, and we have one that's stationed out of Bullhead City as well.
So they're either coming out of Kingman or Bullhead City?
That's correct. If I may, just one suggestion, and I don't know if it's even a suggestion, but just to make the board aware, if the board would like us to bring back fees, just on a timing issue, if the board takes no action, we would need to advertise for 60 days before we could bring it back to the board. If the board continues this to a date specific, then we can address the fee schedule and bring that back a little bit sooner.
How much time do you need?
We can bring it back in 30 days if you like. We can look at basically both, I think both points as Attorney Esplin indicated, I think both points are valid, and that there are expenses being made by the county to abate these properties, and those expenses should be recouped in a reasonable manner. We do, with building inspections, for additional inspections outside those that are included with a building permit, we do have a flat fee for a $65 inspection fee. If the board's amenable to that, we could go along those lines and just have, each inspection be billed at a flat rate of $65 per inspection.
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
I move that the board take no action today, and that the attorneys and development services return with a fee schedule in 30 days.
Second that.
If I could just jump in there.
Sure, go ahead.
I don't think we can do that. We do the 60 days just to be certain that we're complying with the two statutes. I'd recommend we still put it out 60 days just in case to make sure we comply with those statutes.
I didn't hear what you said.
The reason why we do the 60 days is to comply with there's two statutes. And that second one may not apply, but we often do it just in case, just to be safe. And so I recommend that we put this out 60 days, at least 60 days, so that we can just do the notice.
Madam Chair, I'll rescind my second to allow Supervisor Gould to modify his motion.
Madam Chairman, I amend my motion to 60 days to return with some options for fees.
Second.
Okay, motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 71, right? So is that what we're on? Or 72?
71.
71, okay. I'm opening the public hearing, discussion and possible action. This is about amendment to Mojave County Ordinance and the Building Code Ordinance. I think we have two people signed up. We've got the same, Jennifer Esposito and Charles DeSazier. Jennifer? Come on, come on.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, Board. Yes, the Building Advisory Board voted unanimously to expand the powers of the Building Advisory Board. Brilliant. The building, as Supervisor Gould pointed out, you know, you've got contractors and things who are subject to the whims of the people they're essentially answering to. There's so many things wrong with this. I can't get it in 3 minutes. But I think this is a really bad idea. You know, we have a conflict. We have apparently, like there was an issue with procurement where you had 2 different appeals processes and it had to go back and be fixed. So I think that Supervisor Gould is right. You know, you guys are up there to do appeals. Maybe you should just hear the appeals. Again, I have a problem with selling somebody back their right to appeal, at least at this level. I mean, in court, you can get fees waived. If you have to appeal to Superior Court, you can get fees waived, especially if you have income issues or other issues. So I think at this point, I have an issue again with the fee. I have a really big issue with the appeals, with the advisory board being the appeals board. And again, in my discussions with Mr. Walsh, where Mr. DeShazer was also there, it looks like the advisory board has been the appeals board without the authorization to be the appeals board. And again, this all goes back to before all of this was online. So, you know, I guarantee that if in an hour-long discussion with Mr. Walsh, I couldn't get entirely to the bottom of it, I doubt that you guys can with the information that you have and the time that you've had to prepare. I have problems. Again, Supervisor Lingenfelter is correct. You know, if you have fees associated with travel, I don't understand Supervisor Johnson's questions about, you know, he represents people in Donkey Acres, for goodness sakes. They shouldn't pay more than someone living in Butler for the same inspection or any of this. I really think that we need to actually, before we take any sort of action on amending international codes, which are just frameworks and don't really apply to us, that we go back and look at what did we have before we adopted the international codes. Most of this stuff is set in statute. Now, I don't know if part of the problem is that maybe development services used to be called planning and zoning like the board is, but when I brought up the idea of the Board of Adjustments, Mr. Walsh said, well, that's only for zoning. Except that when you go to the county code for zoning, it has the building ordinances. So I think when it says review codes and associated ordinances, I think there is a possibility that the existing Board of Adjustments can also adjudicate this stuff. And I just don't think that we have enough time here today to really get this right. So I urge you to vote no on these changes today. And let's work on this or hold a work session and figure it out. Thank you.
Okay.
Chuck DeShazer from Topak. On this particular subject, I have a few things to say. One being is there is no reason why you can't use 2020-7 for both the building department and for the code department, because it has dilapidated buildings right in 2020-7. If there is any question, then you have the building code that you can refer over to as to how to fix the problem or how to remove it. But if they just send it straight down the 2020-7, you have absolutely no problem. It tells you in that ordinance what needs to be in the notice and order, what the appeals process is, what the appeals for the abatement assessment process is. And you already have 2021-03, which encompasses all of your building codes, so that if you do need any kind of interpretation, it can be interpreted, but just use the 2020-7, and there's no problem. You probably don't have that in front of you because it wasn't included in any of the background that I can see here today. On top of that, I have other issues with lying and misspeaking, or whatever you want to call it, at the planning and zoning level, because you had Gilbert Smaby stand right there and say, the board answers to me, and this is going to be a more independent than the Board of Supervisors appeal process. And then you had William Davis over here explaining how they were directed to do this, and, you know, then they go in the back room for 17 minutes for legal direction and take Tim and Gilbert in the back room, and I asked, can I go? And there was a total of 5 people in the auditorium, I believe, at that time that weren't on either the paycheck or the non-paid board members that went in that back room. And I don't know what they had to say back there, except, you know, Jennifer and Chuck are nuts. Could be the only thing they said, but it went on for 17 minutes, and they came out and didn't correct the record that I've had Tim tell me, oh, Gilbert misspoke. He's not in charge of the Building Code Advisory Board, when that's exactly what he said before they went in there. And, oh, they misspoke because they didn't understand what Ron Gould asked them to do to remove the board from this process. All you really need to do is stick with that 2020-07. It has everything you need in there, and then look for direction.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else wish to speak on item 71? I'm going to close the public hearing. What's the pleasure of the board?
Chairman Angus?
Yes.
I'll make it brief if I have a few comments.
Okay.
So what Mr. DeShazer is talking about, or just run everything through 2020-07, that's essentially what, not essentially, but what was going on before all this came up, and part of the reason why we were citing both 2020-07 and 2103 in those notices is that there is some overlap between the two, and he identified it. Dilapidated building is an overlap where it could be in both one of those. That's why we were citing both. And so it's just ironic that now he's saying just run it all through this, when that's essentially what we were trying to do beforehand. But now we've separated it out to make it more clear. It's separate. It's separate. And so what you have is you've got 2 different statutes that authorize 2 different ordinances. You have 11-268 that authorizes an ordinance for weeds, trash, and so forth. That's identified in that 11-268. But then you go to 11-861, and that one authorizes. It says, in a county that has adopted zoning pursuant to this chapter, the Board of Supervisors may adopt and enforce for the unincorporated areas of the county so zoned a building code. And that's what this one is doing. So you have 2 statutes, 11-268, 11-861. Under 11-268, we have 2020-07. Under 11-861, we have 2021-03. There is some overlap that could happen in those, simply because dilapidated buildings could be a violation under 2020-07, but it could also be a violation under 2021-03. So there's a little bit of overlap there, but we try to accommodate what the board has wanted and what Mr. DeShazer has wanted, and so we've separated those 2 out. And so here, if you want building codes and you want them to be enforced, I recommend that you keep it separate from the 2020-07, because there's a whole lot of other things that are involved with building codes that doesn't involve just dilapidated buildings. There's a whole lot of other things that could happen. And so it's like a Venn diagram where one circle and one circle, there's some overlap, but there's some that are out. And so you want to keep 2 separate ordinances and not run them all the way through 2020-07. be a very bad idea. But having two different ordinances is what we're recommending. Now, to accommodate what Mr. DeShazer is saying, in this other one under 11-861, you could try to mirror it similar to what we've done in 2020-07. And that's really what he's getting at, is get it out of the hands of the Building Code Advisory Board and bring it into the hands of the supervisors. That's what he's arguing. And that's what, if you want to do that, we can go back to the drawing board and we can try to do that. There's pros and cons to that, though. And the one thing that Development Services has brought up repeatedly, and I think they haven't make a valid point here, is that that planning advisory board has the expertise that, they have specific expertise in different areas that they understand and know. And so that's why they want to keep it in that realm. So.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Thank you. Yes, Supervisor Gould.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. 11261 gives the county the authority to have a building code, which is a new construction also. They incorporated the International Property Maintenance Code into that also, which is what I believe they police dilapidated buildings under. There's no reason to even have that portion of the code in there. You already have your own ordinance that deals with dilapidated buildings. You can have you can have both of those ordinances existing. We don't have to throw out, not that I don't want to throw out the building code, but you can still have a building code without the enforcement of dilapidated buildings in that building code. So it's not, you're not going to jettison the building code because you've decided to deal with dilapidated buildings under our existing 2020-07.
If I could jump in real quick, and just be clear, 11268 does not address the codes. It doesn't. So 11861 is the one that specifically says you can do a code.
861. Okay, I was confused. I said 261.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Just
so 861 is the one that addresses, allows you, the county, gives county permission to have a building code.
Correct. Thank you. Just want to clarify that.
Any other questions or comments or?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I'd just like to address Attorney Eslin's comment. You mentioned that you could reinsert the Board of Supervisors. I think that that's more appropriate than what we have. And the staff that have the expertise, they can always provide public testimony and documents and things like that to support their case, as everybody else does. So I'm more comfortable with not completely excluding the Board of Supervisors out of this process.
Excuse me, Director Walsh is waiting to talk.
Chairman Angus?
Before we go on, I got notice that when you were speaking last time, the people at home could not hear. So I hope that is an IT thing that they can fix pretty quickly. Okay.
It might have been because I heard for both them and me. I had a good echo going last time, but it looks like they've cleared it up. So hopefully they can hear it home now. If I may just give a little bit of history and how the Building Code Advisory Board became the appeals board for the building ordinance and for these dangerous buildings. 11862, I don't know if we need to share the screens, but I'll reference 11862 allows for the Building Code Advisory Board and allows for the county to adopt basically to establish a Building Code Advisory Board. And Section E of that statute says that the functions and duties of the advisory board may be specified by regulation by the Board of Supervisors. So statute basically 11862 gives us that ability to have a Building Code Advisory Board and to set those duties. In resolution, and I've got too many windows open. In resolution 97-450, that's the furthest back I can go. or that I've been able to find anyway. 97-450, the Board of Supervisors adopted or set forth the adoption of the functions and duties of the Building Code Advisory Board. And in those functions and duties, the objective and scope, one of the items for the objective and scope for the Building Code Advisory Board was that it shall be the further duty of the Advisory Board to hear and decide appeals by any aggrieved party on any decision, finding, or ruling made by the chief building official in his interpretations of the adopted code. That's really the genesis for where we've gone to the Building Code Advisory Board for these appeals for dangerous buildings and any ruling that the building code or that the chief building official makes. So it's not something new or something that I dreamt up that, let's have the Building Code Advisory Board do it. This has been something that's been practiced and is allowed by statute and was established by the board to use them as that appeals board. I'm happy to work with the board on in whichever direction you'd like to go. If you'd like to keep the Building Code Advisory Board on as the first step, and then if the party does not agree with the Building Code Advisory Board, have it come to the Board of Supervisors, and then if they don't agree with the Board of Supervisors, continue on to Superior Court or however the board would like to do that. But just wanted to give you that brief history for how that was established and the reasoning for it. The Building Code Advisory Board are made up of professionals in the industry that are knowledgeable on the building industry. Just the makeup, you've got an architect licensed in Arizona, a professional engineer licensed in Arizona, a general contractor licensed in Arizona, and then a representative from the public, and then you've also got experts in electrical, mechanical, or plumbing trade. So these are people that when an item's being appealed, they understand really the logistics and the technical nature behind it. So I think that was the intent initially of having them as the appeals board for these cases.
Okay, and any questions for Mr. Walsh? Comments?
And Chairman,
Yes.
Angus, if I
Mr.
could jump in real quick. So here's an idea that what Director Walsh is throwing out there, and this may accomplish the goal that Supervisor Lingenfelter had, is the Building Code Advisory Board would hear the appeal, and then based on their decision, that could then be appealed to this Board of Supervisors. Then the Board of Supervisors would have the final decision, and then that decision could be appealed to the Superior Court if anybody wishes to do that. So we can make adjustments to allow that to happen.
Is that amenable?
I think it's superior to what we have right now.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, Supervisor Gold.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Board, I don't know, do you want to tie up the Building Code Advisory Board, who are volunteers, with a bunch of appeals over rubbish and debris, which they really have no more special expertise than anybody else does? I could see if it was maybe a dilapidated building and somebody was going to argue, no, my building's not dilapidated. But it seems like you're going to spend you're going to tie up a bunch of their time doing things that they probably really didn't sign up for. Thank you.
Chairman.
Yes.
Chairman, if I may.
Mr. Walsh.
Thank you. To Supervisor Gould's point, only the dangerous buildings, the dilapidated buildings would be appealed to the Building Code Advisory Board. 2020-07 was the previous one. That deals with your rubbish and debris. That would be appealed to the Board of Supervisors.
Madam Chairman.
Yes.
2020-07 also has dilapidated buildings in it.
That is correct. It does mention dilapidated buildings. Basically the process in working with the attorney's office is trash and debris. Those items would be addressed through 2020-07, and dangerous buildings, dilapidated buildings, those would be addressed through this ordinance here, through the building ordinance 2103. Is basically the route that we would be we're proposing to address both of these different issues.
Chairman Angus.
Yes, Supervisor Lingenfelter.
Director Walsh, to your last point, is there language in there that specifies that?
Chairman Angus, Supervisor Lingenfelter, the property maintenance code, the International Property Maintenance Code, addresses the dangerous buildings, and that is basically what we've addressed with these amendments to 2103 is adding the appeal process, adding the process for doing the dangerous building abatements. 2020-07 addresses the trash and debris. It does also mention dilapidated buildings, as is referenced through 11268, and it has the appeal process that goes to the Board of Supervisors. We could amend, if the board desires, we could amend 2103 to add the Board of Supervisors following the Building Code Advisory Board, or if the board wishes, replace the Building Code Advisory Board with the Board of Supervisors, if that's preferred.
Director Walsh, what my question was is there language basically saying that this one is going to be used for the debris and trash and weeds, and the other is going to be used for the buildings?
Chairman Lingenfelter, I believe so. Yes, 2103 is our building ordinance, and that adopts the property maintenance code, and that's what is used for dangerous buildings and that.
Thank you.
Okay. So what's the verdict here?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I would prefer just to run the dilapidated buildings through to the Board of Supervisors and remove that authority from the Building Code Advisory Board. Let them get back to advising on building code, which is their trade knowledge and expertise. I think that cleaned the whole thing up.
Okay. So how do you want to form that?
Make that into a motion.
Yeah.
Madam Chairman, I move that the Building Code Advisory Board no longer deal with dilapidated buildings, and that the Board of Supervisors take over any appeals on dilapidated buildings.
I'll second for discussion.
Okay.
Attorney Esplin, would that still allow or permit staff or this board to submit documentation with a recommendation?
I'm not following you. So
if it goes directly to the Board of Supervisors and we have this group, can they send information and a recommendation supporting or denying?
Yes.
Is what I'm saying.
Yes, it can.
Okay.
Yes. If I could just jump in though, real quick. Before the board here is recommendations to adopt a new ordinance. So is the board adopting these amendments? Excuse me, let me see. Is the board adopting these amendments, or are they not adopting these amendments? Are you only adopting, I mean, right now you're only adopting one thing. Well, what about all the other stuff, all the other changes that they've made? So at some point you need to address that. Because right now what is presented to the board are a bunch of different amendments to 2021-03. So you could do this one, you could adopt Supervisor Gould's motion, that's fine. But I would suggest you still have to address all the other amendments.
Can I make a suggestion? Can we continue this and clean it all up, and you can change it with everything you heard from the supervisors today, instead of sort of going piecework in all of this?
For this one, I would recommend we do that. For the other one, I like what we did the other one.
Okay.
This one, we can do that. And we can add what Supervisor Gould put in, just motioned, so you'd have to withdraw that motion. We could do that. And is there anything else from this you want us to address? The fee schedule, if something with the fees, you want us to address that one too? Anything with the fees in this you don't like?
Well, first, I think we need to deal with that motion.
Correct.
Madam Chair, I'll remove my second.
Madam Chairman, I withdraw my motion and make a motion that the staff comes back in 60 days with recommendations on this issue.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, any more discussion?
So is this item being brought back, the proposal to amend this ordinance, is it coming back in 60 days? Are we continuing this item for 60 days with?
I withdrew the motion, my amend.
Yeah, so could you make the motion to continue the item, and in addition to that, in 60 days, the staff come back with the recommendations on this issue, is what I'd recommend you put. That way it's coming back, this is coming.
Amend the motion?
Yeah, because we got to bring this back. We need to bring back this amendments to this ordinance, is what we need. We need this back. And in addition to that, any recommendations on the issues that you brought up today?
Okay, so we need to withdraw again? We need to start over?
Yeah.
Let's just start.
You guys got to release
Madam
me.
Second, I'll withdraw my motion. Second.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I withdraw my previous motion and make a motion that staff comes back with amendments to item 71 within 60 days.
To continue.
We can do that. We can do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is that
Thank you.
kosher? Is that acceptable? Okay. And do we have a second?
Second.
Sure. Are we cool? Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Sheesh. All right, item 72, I'm opening the public hearing. Discussion possible action to approve the adoption of Mojave County Ordinance 2024-04, which is again a new fee schedule for application processing and permitting. We have no one signed up. Anyone want to speak? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Board?
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 73, opening the public hearing, amendment to the Mojave County zoning ordinance. And Jennifer Esposito. Jennifer, you signed up for all these ones, so if you can kind of make them a little shorter. All right.
Thank you, Chairman Angus. I spoke to these issues at the Planning and Zoning meeting, and so the rest of these were actually good things, considering. I think that it's, inherent in property rights in rural Mojave County that if you have fruit trees, or you have a garden, or you have some chickens, that it be okay that you sell your surplus from your property. This is not a commercial scale thing. Even doing a farmer's market, you have to either be a member of the farmer's market group, or you have to pay, and you have to get up early and load up all your stuff, especially at harvest time. Maybe, you have a surplus of apples, and you just want to be able to put a sign on your front yard and say, hey, extra eggs, extra apples. I think we should do this. So I strongly support this, as did the board at Planning and Zoning. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Anyone else? With that, I'm going to close the public hearing.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to motion to approve County Ordinance number 2024-05.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 74, I'm opening the public hearing. An amendment to the Mojave County zoning ordinance, regulations for residential recreational RE zone. Ms. Esposito? Short and sweet, hopefully. Trying to be nice and polite.
I think this is also a good thing because it sort of aligns a problem that's misaligned in the current code, but also as the economy gets worse, we have a lot of people taking in family members or bringing back adult children or having teenagers that, maybe need a little bit more autonomy than sleeping on the sofa. And so, if they have the septic and they have everything approved, granted, a person sleeping on your sofa uses the same capacity in your septic system as a person in an RV in your driveway. But I think this would be a good thing because it would allow more flexibility in hard times. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Closing the public hearing.
Chairman Angus, motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Opening the public hearing for item 76, an amendment to Mojave County Ordinance 2021-03, the Building Code Ordinance. 76. I'm sorry, 75. I apologize. The building code 75. And Jennifer?
Thank you. Again, I'll try and make it brief. This is really regarding some rental cabins up on the strip area. And, I think if you have a rural campground, it shouldn't really matter whether your cabins are 300 square feet or 600 square feet. This isn't permanent resident stuff. This is somebody coming for the weekend. If you have enough room to have up to 10 people or something, that just means maybe you and your family and your brother and his family, there's enough room for all of you to come. And as far as the overall size of the lot, it doesn't really matter whether or not you have more small cabins or fewer large cabins. You're really not changing much other than just giving those poor people up there the option of doing something nicer, and I don't see any reason whatsoever to oppose it, so I support it. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Anyone else? Closing the public hearing.
Chairman Angus, motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 76, I'm opening the public hearing. This is the amendment to the Mojave County Ordinance 2021-03, Building Code Ordinance. Jennifer Esposito.
Thank you. Again, I support this. I think that there is a lot of tiny homes coming in. I also think that the conversion of the existing barns that are available, which are, that's all very much regulated. So I think that allowing a tiny home to be not quite as tiny also, again, has more flexibility. And since Supervisor Bishop has a tiny home made out of a barn, I'm sure she will also support this as well. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Closing the public hearing.
Chairman Angus?
Yes.
Ms. Esposito was correct. Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on. Motion carries. 77, I'm opening the public hearing. This is to approve and authorize the chairman of the board to execute change order number 46, the Mojave Valley Landfill Operations Contract Agreement with Mesa Disposal. Anyone wish to speak on that? Mr. Robinson?
I will make this brief.
Please.
There is I assume that these two companies for 77 and 78 operate the landfills. There's no operating expenses for the county. So my question is, why is there $20 million in the fund for the landfill? Do they have major projects that they're wanting to do, or is it just a savings account? I think if there's no major projects to be built, that money should be used for other needs within the county other than just building up in the landfill fund. And that's my comments for both of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, closing the public hearing.
Chairman Angus, motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 78, opening the public hearing. This is a discussion possible action to approve the Board of Supervisors to execute change order number 37 to the Surbat Landfill Operations Contract Agreement with Gamby 360 of Arizona, if I'm saying that correctly. Anyone wish to speak to this? Seeing none, closing the public hearing.
Chairman Angus, motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second.
Comment, though.
Oh, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I believe Mr. Robinson is referring to the landfill closure fund.
Yeah.
Which is the money that we save so that when we do have to close the landfill, we'll have the money to do it.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
You got that. Thank you very much. So we have a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next public hearings are brought by Public Works. Opening the public hearing for item 79, discussion and possible action to approve the adoption of the new and modified fees for the Mojave County Parks, including the Mojave County Fairgrounds. Nobody signed up. Anyone wish to speak? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing.
Chairman Angus, motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 80, I'm going to open the public hearing to approve and authorize to sign on behalf of the board the assignment of franchise agreement with Surbot Water Company and Foothills Water and Sewer. Anyone wish to speak? Seeing none, closing the public hearing.
Chairman Angus, motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 81, I'm opening the public hearing. This is about a franchise agreement with Truxton Canyon Water Company to Foothills Water and Sewer LLC. Anyone wishing to speak to this? Seeing none, closing the public hearing.
Chairman Angus, motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On to 82, brought by the Chief Civil Deputy Attorney. I'm opening the public hearing. Sitting as the Board of Directors of the Golden Valley Improvement District. This is discussion to approve or deny by form or order the petition requesting alterations of Golden Valley Improvement District's boundaries for the removal from the district of the following from parcels totaling 840.84 acres. We do have some people signed up. We'll start with Danielle Olkek. Is that how you say your name? Danielle Olkek? Olekek.
Oli and then Keck, yeah. Thank you again. Danielle Olekek, Golden Valley, Madam Chair, Supervisors, and staff. I'm going to skip what I had already said, but I do want to thank Attorney Epslin and Director Latowski for their thorough research and report on the GVID policies and procedures and their recommendation for denial that's found in the backup documentations. I agree that this petition for removal would not benefit the district and would lead to major financial losses in the future. I hope you were all able to read the report and see how much money would be lost to the district if these developers were able to leave, and I hope that you would hold developers accountable to the same policies and procedures as you would individual residents who are building within the district boundaries. In the report, Mr. Latowski states that there are currently 408 unassigned service connections, which would generate over $2.4 million in fees for the district if they were to purchase those. After speaking to Mr. Pennington, he told me he believes that they only currently have around between like 30 and 40, so they would need, if they really are planned to build 3,000 homes, that would be an additional at least 2,500 allocations, which would equate to over $15 million in fees to build. So I'm not sure if this is something they didn't calculate before they purchased the land inside the district, but I do think that those numbers need to be brought to light. And the other thing that concerns me is they keep bringing up old water reports from 1995, 2011, and I'm just curious if in our policies and procedures they would be required to get a new water report to make sure that there is enough inside our aquifer for this type of development. Another point I want to bring up is that the developers have said that this is already approved for 3,000 homes, but from my research and speaking to planning and zoning, what they are referring to is the Mojave General Plan, not the actual land use zoning. Currently, the parcels are zoned AR36, and the developers would still need to go through the rezone process. I have expressed to Mr. Pennington that the majority of the residents want to keep this area zoned AR, and he expressed back that they don't really care and they're not interested in working with the people in Golden Valley. That's all right. When Golden Valley had our community Let's Talk meeting with Ms. Ursenbach, in which Supervisor Bishop was there, and so was Mr. Smamby Gilbert, the one thing that everybody in the room agreed on was keeping this area zoned AR and maintaining a rural feel by keeping the lots at least 1.25 acres. We are currently building our community alliance group that monitors all rezone requests in the Golden Valley area, and we hope that we will be able to work with you guys to develop this area in a responsible manner while putting the current residents' needs at the forefront for our community. And I want to know if there was any letters of oppositions for this item.
Actual letters of opposition?
Chairman Angus, Board, as far as this specific item that is agendized on this agenda, no, there were not.
Okay, so no, and then, did you guys receive any emails on those?
I think, didn't you send an email?
No, but a lot of people sent me their emails that were sent to you guys, and a lot of them said they didn't get responses.
Yes.
Chairman Angus.
Oh, yeah, we're in the public hearing. I'm so sorry. We'll address that, but thank you.
Asking us questions.
Okay. Next up, Steve Robinson.
Before I begin, I want to thank Supervisor Bishop for her kind words, and it was in that spirit that I went and started speaking to, like, Mr. Latosky and then the state to find out what exactly was the amount of water available in Golden Valley Improvement District. When they produced their report initially, they said there was enough to meet the committed and projected demand and 950 more. That wasn't clear. Even Mr. McKay said that that was not well worded, so it wasn't clear to our county until recently, literally last month. So that means there's 70% more water. But beyond that, and that means there's about, based upon the 200 gallons per day allocation, there's 4,200 more allocations. But this article, or this email from Mr. McKay said that until the county pumps 2,350 acre feet in 1 year and projects it for the next 2 years, they don't need another determination of adequate water supply. If at that point we are at 2,350, which right now we're at 350, less than 2,000 less, we don't need to get a new determination. What that would mean, based upon the 200 gallons per day estimate, we could issue 9,000 future development fees. 9,000. If we go based upon the numbers in the report that said there's 180 gallons per day average for the last 4 years, we could issue 10,000 new allocations, or new, and that means at $1,000 a fee, because over the last 6 years that we've had this 5,200, now it's 6,100, we've gotten an average of under 6 a year sold. Prior to that time, it was about 80 per year sold. From 2006 to 2017, we were selling about 90 or 80 or 90 a year. If you lower the price to $1,000, you will get a lot more money for the next 10,000 service connections, and that doesn't even guarantee they get the water, because you have to build the lines. And people living in these 2.5 acre parcels that I talked about, or 1 1/4, they can't afford to draw or run a line up to their house, so they never get the water even if they buy the allocation. That's why 75% of the people with an allocation don't have of service, because they can't afford it. I recommend getting rid of the term allocation, have a new meeting for the public hearing regarding that whole issue, and recognizing how much water the county has. And I didn't even talk about the the USGS report, so I'll...
Okay, thank you, Mr. Robinson. Jennifer Esposito.
Okay, thank you, Chairman Angus and board. As you can see, the properties they want to remove are the yellow properties in this little corner. And the problem with that is that the little corner up in the top is where the GVID infrastructure is. That's where our standpipe is, that's where our booster pump is, that's where our storage tank is. So if you remove these parcels, you essentially create an infrastructure of our island that's detached from the parcels. And while the law does specify that it doesn't have to be, the district doesn't have to be contiguous, it kind of becomes a bit absurd, because one of the requirements for doing this is to comply with ARS 48906D 1 through 9, which says the public convenience, necessity, or welfare will be promoted by the addition to or the alteration of the district. And while there's clearly no doubt that leaving the district would benefit Engel Homes, there is zero benefit to the district, and that is the statutory requirement. I mean, ultimately, if you set this precedent and you let them leave, and I totally understand from a business point of view why they would want to do that. But if you let them do that, then you set a precedent that would allow myself and every other person who owns property in GVID who is not physically connected right now to the system, you would set a precedent where you'd have to let all of us leave. And then if there were some issue in the future where you needed to do repairs or another well or other infrastructure, we wouldn't be subject to property tax, which would be an awesome thing, you know, and at this point they wouldn't either. I think that Mr. Esplin's analysis was well done, and I agree with it. And if, you know, you would need to create so many more allocations, and I mean, you could do that. You could go request to change the water allocations and sell them those allocations. If you let them out, you are depriving Golden Valley Improvement District of millions, and I mean millions, you don't have to be a math major to figure that out, in allocation sales, in hookup fees, in metering fees, and everything that goes with the district. And as was stated before, and as Chairman Angus brought up, you know, they've been in contact with the water department for months, and they knew what they bought when they bought. They said they did their due diligence. So there's really no excuse to come back now and say we want to change it, just like the farmers with the alfalfa buying agriculture and then saying, yeah, now we want to farm water. You knew what you bought when you bought it. You knew there was a problem. Bad on you. Don't be bad on us. Thank you.
Thank you. Wayne Hollins.
Thank you, Chairman. Wayne Holland, Golden Valley. I am opposed to removing that property from the Golden Valley Improvement District. There's only one area you get water from out there. They've still got the straw in the same cup. Plus, we don't need that many people right in that area. Just not needed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And last but not least, we have Tyler Engel, who is the applicant, of course, in favor. And I apologize, I probably should have had you speak first, so I apologize for that.
No worries. Thank you, Chairman and Board. The only reason we applied for this is because we got scared that the board started discussing electing a private board to run the district. If that weren't the case, we wouldn't have applied. We don't care. We'd be fine being the district, funding it, paying our way. Either way, we got to pay millions of dollars to put in more wells potentially, and none of that's a problem. The water allocation was a question mark. How much water's there? The staff has ironed that out, that there is water available, which is great. If we could just get some kind of assurance that tomorrow or a year from now that the Board of Supervisors isn't going to wash their hands of this and just elect a private board, then I'd be great staying in. So that's really the only thing that worries us at this time, is if you guys don't continue to manage it, I feel like it would be really difficult for us, or it could be potentially. You've heard some of the people. These are the ones that live out there. You know, we give them their due. They're in the district now. They would probably be the ones that want to vote or to apply to get on the board, and you can already hear that they're against us coming in there. So we feel like if it did get turned over to a private board, even if we got an approval to rezone, it may be very difficult to get the water if everyone running the board is anti-developer, anti-affordable housing, going in out there. So that's our worry. If there was a way that the Board of Supervisors could say, yeah, that's not our preference to turn it over, that we plan on managing it, then we would be just fine staying it in and working with the staff, which is has been good to work with, and we feel like the county's doing a good job that way, so.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else? Yes, sir. Please state your name.
My name's George Loya. I live in Golden Valley. I've been there 17 years, and I've been happy with the supervisors continually running the water district instead of setting up another board. But as far as asking to redistrict or reassign this property to a private water company, they're going to be drawing out of the same cup that we are using right now, and they should stay right where they're at. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay, Mr. Robinson. You like when I say that, huh? Mr. Robinson, come on down.
Morning, y'all. Philip Robinson, Golden Valley. I'm totally against this. 3,000 homes out in Golden Valley. No, the state ain't going to do nothing about our freeway that's out there that runs in the middle. Look at all the accidents that happen weekly.
This is about the water. This is
Yes,
about
I know
just leaving.
That's
Okay.
where I'm leading to.
Okay.
But I'm totally against it. They're only out to coat their pocket, not ours. I'm a GBID. I haul my own water. And enough's enough. We need to keep our own water. It needs to stay with the county. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to close the public hearing.
Chairman Angus?
Yes.
In response to Danielle Heck's question, I had 2 letters in support of removing the parcels from GBID, 2 letters against that removal, but then I had 6 that were against the rezone, which has nothing to do with this agenda item. So I just wanted to let Danielle know that's what I had received. And with that being said, I'll make a motion that we deny the petition requesting alterations to the GBID boundaries.
Any second? I'll second it. Okay, so we have a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries for denial. Now off to the regular agenda. This is brought by Public Works. 83, discussion and possible action, approve the adoption of Board of Supervisor Resolution 2024, accepting East Arches Drive into the regular road maintenance as a gravel road at no cost to the county.
Chairman Angus?
Yes, Supervisor Bishop.
There was nothing in the backup material stating where this road is actually located, and I didn't have a chance to get on our GIS to locate it. Do you think maybe Mr. Lukowski can give us a little more information?
Mr. Latowski, are you there?
Yes, I am, yes. Chairman Angus, members of the board, I duly apologize for the backup. It looks like the map is quite illegible, but this is in the Antares area. It's a roadway North Arches that comes off of Antares Road, just north of State Route 66. There's some smaller communities of homes that are being developing there, and this is to accept East Arches about a half a mile as a gravel road only into the regular road maintenance system.
Supervisor Bishop.
Thank you, Chairman Angus, Director Lukowski. So this road has been brought up to our standards? And I'm just curious, how many residences are on this road?
Chairman Angus, Supervisor Bishop, I don't have a specific count of actual built-out residences. It appears that, again, looking from the map, which is rather poor in the reproduction quality, probably looking at roughly it fronting 20 to 30 lots.
So these
I
lots,
just don't have a
Do these lots have homes on them, or is this a new development? I just want a little more information.
Supervisor
Are we
Bishop.
doing this for a developer, or is this an established lot of homes?
This appears, Supervisor Bishop, it actually, the petitioner is Tyler Angle. So it appears to be Angle Homes is, making these improvements. They would bore all the costs to bring the roadway up to county standards and turning it over as per this petition. So this is an initiative of Angle Homes.
So I'm a little confused. Usually on a development, the developer will build and build the roads themselves. So is that the case here? This one's just confusing me a little bit.
And Chairman Angus, Supervisor Bishop, what's really happened is these are existing platted lots, so this doesn't fall under a conventional subdivision. These are lots by which, I'm presuming here that Angle Homes has purchased with the intent to, develop homes, and as such are just working through the established channels, such as through the petition process to bring a roadway up to county standards.
Okay, with that knowledge, I think I'm going to make a motion to deny.
Okay, before we go on, I believe that Mr. Engel wants to speak on this issue.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Chairman and Board. So this is an example of the county's deed sale process working. So there were about 40 acre parcels out in the Antares area. It's like a 1955 subdivision or something. And the ownership had gone through and changed hands many times over the years. People got behind on taxes. The county foreclosed on the property, put it up for deed sales. We bought a bunch of these. And on the west side of Antares Road, there's existing already maybe 40 or 50 houses randomly scattered on dirt streets. These are on the east side of Antares, where we bought most of the parcels on what is now Arches and one other street. So we've gone in and put in the utilities and worked with the county to improve an entry from Antares Road, and are starting to build homes actually already. As part of that, we've graded this Arches and brought it up to county standards. We were gonna leave it as is, and I think actually someone from the county suggested, hey, it's already at county standards, you could actually file and get it in the maintenance program, and it would be better for the property owner. So we're increasing property values out there. Those people are going to be paying a lot more in property taxes versus what they were almost worthless before. And so that's how it ended up being here. It's just a dirt road. We brought in utilities and are building some homes. A few already sold, and we're just planning to leave it dirt, but it does qualify for the county maintenance because of the road size, etc. So we worked with staff to get the grading correct and things when we were putting in those utilities last year.
Any questions?
I have some questions for Director Latosky, if he's still on the line. Director Latosky,
yes.
Are you still there?
Yes.
So the last sentence of this says to be accepted into the road maintenance system for regular road maintenance as a gravel road at no cost to the county. So that basically means that the developer brought it up to the county's standard for a gravel road for the traffic on that road. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
What's the next level as far as hard surfacing? And how much traffic is required on a road before it has to be brought up to a hard surface? Is there some sort of a next standard, and is that going to be paid for by a private entity?
Chairman Angus, Supervisor Lingenfelter, there is no standard by which we really require the roadway to be surfaced in this circumstance. This is not being conducted under either a subdivision or a commercial site plan. So unless, there was some unusual circumstance by which we really knew that there was a very high traffic development, demanding a hard surface, something of an industrial, but again, that would be more of a commercial, type of bona fide commercial site plan process. So this is an initiative by which, through the petition process, the applicant came through desiring to just improve it to a gravel road standard. And we do not have as staff any basis by which there'll be an undue level of traffic, that would necessitate the hard surfacing of the roadway. So they would clearly answer your question. Yes, there is under the same regular road standard, there's the ability for any applicant or any other entity to improve the roadway to a hard surface or paved surface. But in this circumstance, there is nothing really driving the necessity or the requirement for an applicant to take a roadway from a gravel road on up to a paved road. Generally, the break point for traffic volume, to substantiate a real hard substantiation to take it to a paved standard would be, roughly about 200 vehicles per day, and not necessarily seeing that in this case either.
Sure, thank you. So the applicant said basically that they comply, or do you think that they comply with the county's requirements for a gravel road? And my second part of that question is, are there other instances where we have some sort of a similar circumstance?
Chairman Angus, Supervisor Lingenfelter, yes, to answer your first question, yes, they have complied by laying out the roadway, speaking of the cross-section, to the required minimum dimensions of the county road standards, and have developed a gravel road with a crown that is a relatively smooth roadway and acceptable, for acceptance. With regard to any other initiatives, that basically. I'm sorry. I think you have one other question concerning.
Yeah, it was basically has the county adopted any similar gravel roads?
Yes.
Throughout the county.
Chairman, Supervisor Lingenfelter, I must say that we have actually seen in the past, it's been very sporadic, but up in the White Hills area, the Golden Horseshoe Unit 1, there's actually a formal subdivision that was developed by just pure gravel road. So, that is a possibility, especially in more rural, remote areas, that a gravel road is acceptable for a subdivision.
Thank you very much. That's all my questions.
Okay. Yes, Supervisor Gould.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. What's probably going to happen if we don't approve this today, the people that Mr. Engel sells those houses to are going to be back, they're going to run their petition, they get their neighbors to sign, they're going to be back here doing it anyway. So really, we should probably go ahead and approve it because it's going to come back to us anyway. In reality, it's no different really than anything else, other than the fact that a guy that builds houses is applied for it rather than the neighbor showing up and doing it. Thank you.
Chairman Angus.
Yes.
I will withdraw my motion and make a new motion. I will make a motion that we approve this section of roadway for tertiary maintenance until it's more populated, and then let the residents bring it back. That's my motion.
Can you restate that?
I made a motion to approve accepting this section of road into our tertiary maintenance system.
Oh, okay. Second.
Okay, motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
No. Supervisor Johnson?
I was a no. Do you hear me?
Yeah.
I heard you.
Okay.
Okay.
Madam Chair, may I make a motion for approval?
Second. Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll vote in favor.
Okay, so that was unanimous in favor. Okay, thank you very much. Item number 84 from Human Resources, to approve the following exceptions to the general fund hiring freeze. for the Animal Shelter, Clerk of the Superior Court, Court Services Assistant, County Attorney, Attorney 4, Development Services Planner, Elections, Warehouse Technician, and temporary part-time positions, Probation, Adult Probation Officer, and Public Works, Automotive Mechanical Senior, and Office Assistant Senior.
Madam Chair, motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we got that. Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. From Procurement, 85, discussion possible action to approve a contract for printing and mailing of election materials.
Didn't we just do this?
I think that was just for the ballots. I think this is something else. No, I think you're right. Maybe you could explain this. Is this deja vu all over again?
Good morning, Chairman. Happy New Year. Our recommended motion was discussion and action regarding the county doing their own solicitation. I don't have the agenda in front of me, but at the meeting in
Yeah,
December,
that's right.
we approved the contract with Runbeck specific to the presidential preference election, asking us to come back and recommend potentially soliciting our own contract. So this is the follow-up to the board. Staff's recommendation is essentially, in order to get a contract awarded in time, we would have had to have started probably in November or December. Our recommendation would be to allow the use of the Runbeck contract through the 2024 election and then give us some further direction on what type of ballot and elections-related security. Sorry, my brain's not there. The security-related measures within the elections material that you'd like the county to pursue so that we can have a well-informed scope if we were to go out to bid for our own contract.
It would be nice if we were made aware of these deadlines before the deadline was upon us.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 86. People left sitting here after all this long day. Mr.
Madam Chair.
Supervisor Liegenfelter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The state of Arizona was allocated a total sum of $993 million of BEAD grant funding for investment in fiber broadband services in rural communities that are either unserved or underserved. Obviously, Mojave County, we want as many of our folks to be able to take advantage of those grant funds as possible. County Attorney's Office, Attorney Davis, I see you're there. I might ask you to come up to the podium. Worked very closely with this first county provider. What was in front of us was basically tailored with language that would be something that we could use to provide a similar letter of support to WECOM, ALLO, any other provider that's operating within Mojave County for the benefit of our residents. This letter of support from a local government gives the applicant, which has to be one of the providers, a 10-point increase in consideration for these grant funds. And obviously, in a very competitive process that's statewide, 10 points can make all the difference in the world. So I want to thank you, Attorney Davis, for working with this provider and providing us with something that we can also copy and give to all the other providers in Mojave County that wish to seek these funds.
Thank you.
Okay, I see that the applicant is here. If you'd like to say anything, would you like to say anything, MEC? Tyler? Yeah.
Tyler Carlson, Mojave Electric Cooperative, live in Bullhead City, Arizona. Thank you. We appreciate you working with us. I think Supervisor Lingenfelter said it exactly right, which is we in order to get to some of the more far-flung regions of Mojave County, it would be best and it would be beneficial for us all who are working on this to be able to apply for and be able to succeed in some of these grants and some type of relationship with the county for only places that we serve, as well as that's within the county this really applies to. So we appreciate working with with the county attorney's office, and we came up with some language, and we would respectfully request that you approve this language. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Any questions from Mr. Carlson? Thank you.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 87 from Supervisor Gould, discussion possible action, Direct Development Service Department to bring back all conditional use permits that are expired or about to expire for board review.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I know we're all aware of the power plant issue where staff never brought the expired special use permit back to us to have us resend it. What I would like to see them, and I believe they're already doing that, is taking a look at those expired use permits and bringing them back to the board for action. So if Director Walsh is on the line, he could confirm my suspicions that they might already be doing that.
Mr. Walsh?
Chairman Angus, Supervisor Gould, you are correct. We're working on it. We've gone back and found from current to 2012, we have 3 of them that are out. There's 2 for sure and a third that's questionable. We will be bringing those back to the board. We'll actually take them to planning and zoning. We're planning those ones to go to planning and zoning in February, which means they'll be to the board in March. Prior to 2012, there is a good number of these rezones that have expired, close to 1,000. And basically our plan is to work through those in batches, identify whether or not they've already been addressed. A lot of times these rezones that have expired are addressed when either a new owner wants to do something with the property or the existing owner wants to do something else. We'll address it at that time. But we'll be going through those rezones in batches, and we'll be addressing those and bringing those to the Planning and Zoning Commission and then the board as well.
Thank you, sir. No actions required.
No action required. Okay. 88 also Supervisor Gould, discussion possible action to approve an award of ARPA funds to the Fort Mojave Mesa Fire District in the amount of $25,000.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. If there's not anything else, meeting's adjourned.